Good morning. Oh shit. Sorry about the audio. Gotta hook that up. It's gonna be weird to not have audio. Oh, audiolicious now. We are audiolicious now. Oh, just Kim. Why do I not have your TikTok? Son of a bitch. I don't know why I have it. Welcome everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a wonderful day. Let me fix my chair. Chilly one this morning. Went outside. It was like 60 degrees. It's a tough day to be in Arizona. Really tough day to be in Arizona. Good morning. I'm starting off a little slow. You'll see as you come in, there are links now in my live. I wanted to have products that people would maybe like, and I don't want you to ever feel any pressure. I do want to show you though this hoodie I'm wearing today. This is a self-care hoodie, and we're gonna do something. We're gonna do something in a few minutes to please the Discord. Give me this real quick. Did I beat Jen to it? Ah, there we go. 60 degrees in Massachusetts. That's not good. Hey, I don't want to hear this shit about cake. I'm gonna have a guest today at some point. Felice is gonna swing by, tell us about a couple ballot measures today. We'll get there. Tell you what. Felice is here. She can be here for this. Felice is. Hi, Felice.
Morning, sunshine.
Let me switch this real quick. I'm not sunshiny. I'm not sunshiny at all.
I can tell.
That's not who I am.
Approve of the hoodie, though.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I don't know why you're always in hoodies. Like, it's not cold right now where we are. Let's just talk about the fact, why are we in hoodies? I'm already
We can talk about that. Yeah, so the hoodies that I normally wear are not cold weather hoodies.
It's like 80.
They're like fishing hoodies. So when I go outside, I wear them. I wear them when I golf. They protect your skin from the sun, and they keep you cool. When you get a little sweaty, it's like that cooling fabric. You don't seem even remotely impressed by this. You don't seem like you're buying any of this.
No, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I'm a fan of hoodies. I'm just wondering, like, let's just admit it's not cold where we are, because
it's cold. It was like 60 this morning.
Oh yeah, you're in Gilbert. I don't know what's going on.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a different weather system than Phoenix.
Phoenix
Something else is going on over there.
That's right.
Can we talk? It's election day.
Happy election day.
Yeah, happy election day.
Thank you.
I think I had to vote for like a school, superintendent or something. Not a big day for me, and I voted by mail-in ballot a couple weeks ago. But it is election day. 1 year from today, right? We're all going to have so much anxiety. It will be ridiculous. Do you remember the midterm? How were you on the midterm elections? And
how was I on anxiety? I'm trying. Who did we have on midterms here? There was nothing surprising that happened in the midterms that I remember in 2022.
Yeah,
was there anything surprising in Arizona?
Well, I mean, Carrie Lake tried to become the governor of Arizona. Carrie Lake still professes herself to be the governor of Arizona. That didn't stress you out?
I think she's doing a good job. I think she's doing a good job cosplaying.
No, she's going to be cosplaying as senator for the next 8 years. We don't know. It's never going to end with her.
We need a ballot initiative for Carrie Lake that just like
not be allowed to run.
We all agree to let her pretend she's governor, and we'll give her a house.
Isn't that what we're doing?
But we'll give her like a house. We'll let her do announcements, like she can sign legislation. She's going to have no idea if it's implemented. She's not going to know.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Let's just let her give her a fake little office and she could just
Or
do
she
what
can
she's
govern
doing.
like, we can be like, all right, we're going to split it
her
up.
voters would believe it too. You know what I mean? They might
100%.
think that she's really running the state if we just give her an office space. That might be the answer, to just place her somewhere and just let her go.
I'm in.
I would love for us to get Ruben Gallego on the show. My brother went to law school with him.
Well, seems like something that you have the power to do. I'm not that well liked. I don't know if you know that. Not that many people like me.
Yeah.
My Discord's completely turned against me. They all
I
like
know.
you.
I'm running. I love the Discord. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, you're
I
coming in to
think the
take...
Discord has spoken. I love them.
Great.
You know
Terrific.
when
Do you
you
know
just
what they're
find your
asking?
place where you were supposed to be? That's how I
You were
feel.
supposed to be here
That's how
all
I
along.
feel about the Discord. Is like, what have I been doing my whole life before I got in there?
Do you know what they're asking me to do?
What
Do you
now?
understand what they're asking of me today? They want a cakewalk. You know what a cakewalk is? I didn't know what a cakewalk was.
No, what is it?
All right, so yesterday on Whispers Live, he stood up and walked somewhere. For some obnoxious reason he had a fire going. It was like it looked like a Mister Rogers episode. You can see the Discord now if you want to look at it.
Can you
Okay.
see how it's going for you? You've been
Not well. It's
there's
never
a mutiny.
going well.
There's a mutiny happening.
It's never going well.
It's going
but
great for me.
Thank you. So
I am a charismatic cult leader. Don't worry, everyone. I have this under control.
So Whisper walked away. Somebody noticed that he has a caboose, and then Jen for some reason put up a poll. I know where Jen got that picture, and I'm not going to tell people where Jen got that picture. It's not salacious, but Jen found a picture of my cake, put it next to his cake, and now they are demanding that at some point today I do a cakewalk.
What does that mean? So you basically...
It means I'm supposed to get out of my seat and walk back and forth just so they can stare at my ass. I feel objectified.
You should. I'm of two minds of this. I don't think anyone should be objectified, but like, if someone is going to be, maybe men should know how it feels.
Maybe it should just be me. Cool.
Yes. Maybe we should just know how it feels. Okay, wait. I want to talk about the elections today, and can I do that really quick?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so there's many elections going on across the country and measures on ballots, but the four ones I want to highlight today are going to be number one in Ohio. Issue 1 is on the ballot again, right? I want to get the wording right. Ohio voters are heading to the polls Tuesday, so it will be, let me just get the words right. Ohio, so abortion rights, so they're going to amend the state constitution, actually, to put abortion rights into it. So this is a huge vote. We originally passed it, right? 57% of Americans believe abortion should be legal in all or most cases. Issue 1 passed originally on the Ohio ballot, so this is going to set a legal precedent, maybe, possibly, right? If Issue 1 amends the state constitution in Ohio, a traditionally red state, then this will set a precedent of how we can protect abortion rights in states, specifically at the state level across the country. And the other thing, if you know what's on Ohio's ballot today, is the devil's lettuce. I wish you luck, Ohio, in getting the legalization of the devil's lettuce.
What are the terms for issue 1? Or is it all 9 months? Is it to viability?
Well, that's the thing. It's not specified, but I was watching a little segment on MSNBC today, and it sounds like there is language that it could be interpreted differently, right? Like, it's not just saying if we amend the state's constitution, anyone can have an abortion anytime. It's going to be probably specific to who's in control of the state legislature and the governor's office, because it sounds like there's measures in the wording for
Gotcha.
stipulations.
So what's the makeup of the legislature? Do you know?
Of the Ohio state legislature? I mean, it's Republican. Yeah. It's Republican control.
How Republican? Like Republican?
They have a super majority.
That's not ideal,
I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like, that's how we have Jim Jordan. Like, Ohio is one of the states that has been gerrymandered within an inch of its life, but they're fighting their way out.
That Jim Jordan map.
We can't get rid of him. We've had him for going on 15 years of this guy. Can't get him out. This is the Republicans' legacy of gerrymandering. But
the Jim Jordan map looks like the game Snake that used to play on like your phone. That's what his map looks like. It's insane.
Just like, however, that's like Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. Yeah. So we'll see. But big day in Ohio. Let's move on to Virginia. I think there's 140 seats up for grabs in Virginia's state legislature.
Did you know Virginia is for lovers?
Oh, good Lord Jesus.
Did you know that?
Are you done?
It's on their license plate. When you drive around in Virginia, all the license plates say Virginia is for lovers. I lived in Virginia. It was a very strange thing.
Where did you live?
I lived in Virginia Beach.
Okay. Cool story. Everyone log that away. Everyone.
Sorry for the fun fact this morning. My bad.
We're all learning something. Okay, so right now Republicans are holding what they call in the Virginia Commonwealth the House of Delegates, so the House 52-48. The Democrats currently hold majority in the Senate 22-17. There's 140 seats up for re-election since they redistricted the maps in 2021, and a bunch of people decided to retire. So Glenn Youngkin, I don't know if you've heard all the crazy stuff going on in Virginia, but he basically sent out like, oh, here's some here's $400. He sent out checks to everyone like recently, and he's like, this has nothing to do with the upcoming election.
For what reason? What was his reasoning?
He just said that the Commonwealth of Virginia has a surplus. So leading up to the election, he just sent out some checks. You know what I mean? The Democrats are like, this is influencing the outcome of this election.
Hold on. They came with a note that said, receiving this rebate because Governor Glenn Youngkin recently signed a bill passed by the 2023 Virginia Assembly. So he also gave himself credit. This is like a very Trumpian move. Remember when Trump wanted to sign all the
Glenn
checks?
Youngkin's out of control in Virginia. This day in Virginia is extremely important. He needs to be balanced out. Like, the man's lost the plot. So that's what's going. Big day in Virginia. Wait, so what have we covered? Ohio.
Wait, hold on. He just did this 4 days ago?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. This just happened.
That's crazy.
He just sent everyone some money right before the election. It was like, here's a check. This isn't suspicious.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's Glenn Youngkin. Oh, I forgot the most important part. So one of the things is you're not hearing any of the Republicans running talk about abortion, but all the Democrats are talking about in Virginia is abortion, because what Glenn Youngkin ultimately wants is control of the state legislature for the Republicans, because he wants to pass a 15-week abortion ban. He says that it's propaganda to call it a ban, right? And it's just totally normal. But that's what's at stake today, essentially.
What would he like us to call it instead if we don't say ban?
He said that because there's stipulations and exceptions, like, we shouldn't be calling it a ban. We should definitely be calling it a ban. As someone with a uterus, it's a ban that's placing people with uteruses in danger.
As someone without a uterus, I will lean on your expertise.
Thank you. Trust me, you don't want to know. It's not great. It's not great.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I don't know what to do about that. But I feel bad.
Yeah, so they're trying to drag everyone back in Virginia. So that's what's really at stake. If Republicans take control of the legislature, then we're going to see a 15-week abortion ban that they can force through. Next, we need to talk about Kentucky. Today in Kentucky is the governor's race. So right now, there is a Democratic governor who won, I believe, in 2019. He's the former Attorney General of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, and I think his father used to be the governor as well. So, because they love the good old boys in Kentucky. Biden did horribly in Kentucky, and Beshear was able to take even some eastern Kentucky coal mining districts. And that will be something to watch. When I was listening this morning, they were saying that whatever party wins the governorship in Kentucky, traditionally that party then wins the presidential race. The Republicans are trying to tie this race. The rhetoric in Kentucky is all about Joe Biden. If you re-elect Andy Beshear, that's a vote for Joe Biden. So they're trying to make this narrative all about Joe Biden and not about the fact that Andy Beshear has actually been quite an effective governor, and he has a great approval rating in Kentucky. So they're trying to distract from that and redirect to the fact that they feel Joe Biden is failing America.
I'm looking at his numbers now. He's got a 2-point lead in polling.
Which, for a Democrat in Kentucky, that's huge. You know what I'm saying?
Trump won Kentucky by 25.9. That was a 25.9 point margin over Biden. So that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild.
Super wild. And last and finally,
I'm not going to talk anymore.
So wild. Crazy things happening today. So, The last one is, I don't know if you know who Tate Reeves is, the governor of Mississippi. This Mr. Corruption himself, Mr. Welfare Corruption,
Yeah.
Mr. I let Brett Favre build a D2 volleyball stadium for my daughter with the money that was supposed to feed people in poverty.
Yeah. But don't worry. And then Brett Favre sent a message like, "Hey, we can't tie this to me, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, totally not." And then it got tied to him immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's the word. That's what people are talking about. He wants to say his latest thing is like that had nothing to do with me. That was going on before I was governor. You know, when he was lieutenant governor.
I was just getting coffee. I didn't.
Oh yeah,
That's what
I was
Lieutenant
just,
Governor
you know
does.
what I mean? I was the coffee guy in the meetings where we were planning to defraud people in poverty for
I remember
millions of
thinking when I
dollars.
was putting Splenda in there, I remember thinking, we really shouldn't do this, but I was just the lieutenant governor, so I couldn't speak up.
Yeah. So Tate Reeves is on the ballot. Here's the fuck. Sorry, I almost swore. Here's the interesting thing about it. He is running against Elvis Presley's cousin.
I'll get the what?
Brandon Presley, yeah, and Elvis Presley, if you know, is from Mississippi, I believe. I believe wasn't he born there or something?
I
So
have
this,
no
you know,
idea.
they love an Elvis Presley relative, and Brandon Presley in his own right is a really important candidate. He's actually good for Mississippi, not not me, the little commie,
Yeah,
but
not good for
good for
communists, good for like regular people.
good for
Yeah.
Mississippi in that he's pro gun. He is I believe I think I don't even know if he's pro life, but that I mean he's pro gun, maybe pro life. I don't know, but what he's running on is expanding Medicaid, which is an issue that I think is important. Like he wants to people in Mississippi have no health insurance. They are the poverty numbers are outrageous, and Andy Bashir wants to expand Medicaid so people can have health insurance, which
Yeah,
is
his
the
is
type of issues we should be running on.
yeah, his is interesting. Creating a drug pricing affordability board that would require mandatory reporting from pharmaceutical companies and pharmacy benefit managers about drug pricing mechanisms.
Yeah, like what
He's
Biden's doing federally.
Yeah, he said that he will not, for the director of Medicaid, he'll only bring in a healthcare professional, not anybody who's in politics or who there's a career politician. That's interesting. He's also running on cutting taxes, which, whatever. On a state level, that's not the worst thing. If I don't know what their budget looks like. I don't know if they have a surplus.
Uh, Are you Mississippi?
Well,
Mississippi is funded by California. You know the liberals on the coast that they hate. Well, they're keeping them afloat.
what if California's been sending a little extra and they have a budget? What if they
Then
went?
it's going to Brett Favre. We
It's
need to
going to
just we have to get Brett Favre on the show to talk about Mississippi's budget. Or
I don't think he will. He kept trying to sue, like he tried to sue Pat McAfee and I think maybe ESPN too for talking
Brett's
about
lost
it.
the plot. The last interview I saw with Brett Favre, he was
That
in
guy's
outer
had a
space.
lot of concussions. He's
He
had
was
a lot
in
of
outer
concussions.
space. I don't know what was going on, but I don't. You know what I mean? He was not all there.
Do you think Brett Favre could spell Mississippi?
No, oh, Brett.
Can you spell Mississippi not rhythmically?
God, that would be so hard, right?
It's hard, huh? Yeah, I can only do
No.
it rhythmically. Yeah, I think I can only do it
I like
rhythmically.
hear rhythm in my head, so probably not. No.
I wanted to bring up something on the ballot here in Arizona. I think I did a video or a tiki-talkie about Justine Wadsack. Did you see that?
No, tell me.
So she was on some like white nationalist podcast, and she said something along the lines like basically it was my son has type 1 diabetes. He doesn't get free health care, but all these Africans coming in from the southern border get free heart surgery and knee replacements. So obviously just stupid, right? So close. The whole thing was mostly complaining about how her poor son. By the way, I don't know what the insurance is for a state rep, but I would imagine or a state senator. I imagine they have good insurance. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like she has free health care for her son. Maybe he's older. I have no idea. But she's just like talking about how awful our healthcare system is, and then her conclusion is we can't give health care to immigrants. Not that we can get like universal health care and make it more affordable, but then she tweeted out a picture of her ballot showing people how to vote. And it turns out that some of the things on her ballot would not be on her ballot. So because of the area she lives in, some of the items on her ballot she wouldn't be voting on. So one of two things happen. Either one, she's lying about where she lived and she'll be disqualified, or two, she posted somebody else's ballot and she's going to be fined. So just a big dumb idiot down there in Tucson. Yeah.
God, Tucson. I know. I try to pretend, you know what I mean. I didn't read that article, but thank you for filling me in.
You're quite welcome. You are quite welcome.
We need control of the state legislature. I just want to encourage people, like, not to think about your local elections like, oh, I'm just voting for this little election. Every little election matters, especially in swing states, especially these states where abortion is on the ballot. We have to force Republicans, or I don't want to say Republicans. I think we should take each candidate locally, like, and look at who they are and what they believe in, and then vote accordingly.
So get your list of candidates, take out all the Republicans, and then figure out what these Democrats want, and then vote for them. Just don't vote for the Republican ones, is what she's saying.
I mean, it's going to look like that, but it depends on what state you're in. That's what I'm trying to say.
Did you see the new polls that came out yesterday? I know you were busy yesterday. Did you see the new...
Having a mental breakdown? Are we talking about mental health today?
I didn't know.
You were busy yesterday, laying in a dark room and feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, that. I wasn't going to say that. By the way, self-care.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going along with your theme. And I think we should talk about mental health. It's okay to have a bad day. That's what I'm trying to say.
I had a bad day yesterday. I was sexually harassed by my Discord for like 5 straight hours, and it's continuing today. I've also had a bad day.
Discord's a rough place for you, for some.
It's mostly just me. But did you see well, maybe you've seen it
Whisper.
since. No, Whisper gets so much... He just posts pictures of his feet.
What's going on with the feet pics?
I don't know how that happened. That happened when I was live one day, and I wasn't watching the Discord, and then all of a sudden, there were just feet everywhere. Yeah. I have no idea what was going on. It's a very strange thing. I think Whisper's opening up like a side hustle, I think is what's happening.
Definitely is. I have one more thing I want to say. This is related to, and if you guys don't follow, if you guys are interested in how to know, like, in anytime you want what is going on in the House Republican clown show, you know, and MAGA Mike and what he's up to, I would suggest following Jake Sherman, who's the founder of Punchbowl News. He always has like minute-to-minute updates of what's going on in the House. So if you don't know, 10 days till the government shut down. Get excited. So the Republicans had a closed-door meeting again today, and it doesn't even make any sense. This is what Jake Sherman reported after the closed-door meeting. I just caught up with Speaker Johnson and Steve Scalise post-House GOP meeting. Johnson said he had more clarity on how House GOP will fund the government. So more clarity, because that bill they passed is dead in the water, or it's vetoed by Biden. So they have to come up with another way to do this. But declined to say anything more than that. Scalise signaled that the menu of options for funding the government had widened from the original two. Okay, so it looks like they're recognizing that nothing they've done so far is going to work, but they have really no plan.
I would like to know why we put a person in charge of the government and Congress. They control the purse strings, who doesn't have a goddamn checking account. That's what I want to know. I want to know why Mike Johnson doesn't have a checking or savings account.
That's what you want to know? I have a list of things.
Nobody can figure out where he puts his money. He has loans, but no checking account. This is the most bizarre, I don't know how I would pay for things without a checking account. Do you? How do you pay for things?
I want to figure it out, though. I'm trying to go off grid.
Does he go to like a check cashing place? Like, here's my congressman's salary. Could you please cash
40% to the check cash, please?
He's at Walmart just cashing his checks. I have no idea what this guy's doing.
Yeah, Mike Johnson, I 100% am like, keep your enemies close. You know what I mean? That's why we're friends. And so, yeah, I agree. We need to keep an eye on Mike Johnson, like the closest eye.
So they're saying Jake Sherman thinks that, or not Jake Sherman, Mike Johnson thinks that defunding the IRS is an offset.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The bill, what happened, if you guys aren't up with the dead in the water bill that the House Republican clown show passed, There is $14 billion, right? There was supposed to be aid for, I don't know, Israel is one, but then Ukraine, I don't know, Taiwan, who's about to be invaded by China. There was supposed to be aid for, multiple countries. They pass a bill with just aid for Israel. It's like 14.5 billion. And then in the bill, the offset for that aid is to cut $14.5 billion from the IRS. And I've said many times before, our issue in this country is the deficit, and we need to fund the IRS, not to go after normal, poor, struggling Americans like us, but to go after the 1%. We need complex forensic audits to be done, and then we need agents that can go and levy those taxes that are unpaid. And if we don't fund the IRS, we can't do this.
Right. I think we pulled the numbers the other day. It was like $6 or $7 for every dollar spent on the IRS you bring back in. So it's a really, really good thing for the government to
the
fund.
ROI is there. You know what I mean? The return on investment is there.
Yeah, and generic Republicans, not these people in Congress who are just doing the bidding of corporations. Generic Republicans are like, good, we don't want to pay taxes. Like, okay, well then shut the fuck up about the debt for a while would be a good idea. Like, what are you talking about? There are taxes. Every one of you morons who's like, we don't want to pay taxes. You're paying taxes because you can't get away with not paying taxes. You'd be in trouble because you don't have complex taxes. But all these people who do, and the IRS is understaffed. It takes months, weeks, sometimes years. We're still auditing Donald Trump's taxes. We're still doing that. We have to fund the IRS. It's one of the weirdest things that Republicans do.
We have never completed an audit of Donald Trump, is what everyone needs to just hang on to. This guy has never been audited.
We've never completed an IRS
No, we
audit?
never completed the federal... No, look into it.
Why not? Why didn't we do that?
Well, because this is the thing. You can fill out tax forms, right? You can file taxes. Donald Trump filed taxes. But then what you need to provide after that is the collateral, right? You can say whatever you want, whatever numbers you want, which we all know Donald Trump just likes to say things on forms and sign them that may or may not be true. But what you need to provide then is the evidence, the collateral that goes along with these numbers that makes sense. And he's never provided that.
That's shocking. Did it make your day feel any better yesterday reading the words of Judge Engoron?
Oh my God.
He admonishing the former president.
Tell me the story again, because I did read briefly, but so Donald Trump had a full-on emotional meltdown.
Yeah, because so in these cases, either the defense or the prosecutor at any time can call President Trump, and he has to testify. It's just the rules. So they call on him to testify, and every time he would be asked a question, he would go into a political speech. And the judge is like, dude, you can't keep... Listen... You have to answer the fucking questions that you're asked. You can't keep just doing political speeches. You have to answer the question. And then he didn't. So he told the lawyers something along the lines of, can you control your client? And they're like, yeah, he understands the rules. He's like, well, he doesn't seem to understand the rules because he keeps doing the same shit. So if he keeps doing this and he won't answer the questions, I'm just going to assume all the worst with everything he says. I'm just going to assume that he's avoiding the question and everything they're accusing him of is true. That's basically what he said. And then Donald Trump probably said something like, the election was stolen. I don't know what he said.
I'm impressed by him. He you know what I mean? He's a good judge. No, not Trump. Judge Engoron.
No, he's kind of, it's like when you have a kid that's throwing a fit and you know that, like with my daughter, if she's ever throwing a fit, she's so hard-headed that I know I'm not going to win. She'll outlast me every single time.
The judge had to tell Alina Habba to sit down. Someone said, Alina Habba just kamikazing it all the way to the end. Just not going to stop. Just going hard, going down in flames.
Yeah. I do feel like, I think we're not giving Alina Habba enough credit. For her first time ever in court, she's doing an okay job. It seems to be her very first case.
Has she ever done a trial? I was wondering about her record.
I don't think so. Did you have the audio from her? Did you hear her after?
Oh, I mean, which day? Every day
Yesterday.
It gets worse and worse. I'm like, who's writing these scripts?
You know who's writing the script.
I know.
You know who's writing those scripts.
What's going on? I just can't believe her dedication. I mean, I think she's definitely one of the ones getting paid by the Save America PAC. You know what I mean? Because why would you be doing this to yourself otherwise?
I wonder about that. When I heard Jenna Ellis and even Sidney Powell, like she pleads guilty and then like publicly backtracks on it. I think some people are just dumb and they what? Oh, sorry, I gotta get this weird thing. Um, I think some of them believe. I don't know if she's one of those people that believes.
Oh, listen, I would classify her like you have to. There are the true believers, right? We the Mike Lindell's. Mike Lindell is a true believer, but then we also have the people who are using MAGA for as a financial vehicle, and whatever her next move is, she will always have a place in the far right, right? She's going to be a commentator. She's going to be like the next Megyn Kelly. We're never going to hear the end of it. Like that's where she's moving. Obviously, it's about
That's
the
fair
fame,
enough.
it's about the PR. As someone that used to work in marketing, like it is very strategic what they're doing. You know, this they're not fighting a court battle anymore. This is the battle for public opinion. That's all he's doing is he's presenting his case in the media, which is all he knows how to do. That's what he is. He's a spin doctor.
Well, it's already ruled on, right? This is the tricky part for.
Partially.
What do you mean partially?
There's a partial judgment.
Right, but now we're just ruling on like the specifics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, this is the part. This is the part of it. Like,
He's liable already. It's a foregone conclusion if that's what you're saying.
yeah. Well, no, but Engeron, it's impossible for Engeron to get this right? Because nobody in the history of this country has ever gotten more preferential treatment by the courts than Donald Trump. The same people complaining that the justice system is rigged against them, nobody has ever gotten more preferential treatment. And it's scary because it's showing that if you commit crimes, if you can be public enough and run and pick a political side, specifically the right, actually only the right, that you have protection. And these judges, even like, and Goran, like, what? I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what I would do if I was him. He's doing a great job, but if he finds Trump, that's a problem. If he puts him in jail, that's a problem. We'll never get to the bottom of any of this stuff. It's a no-win situation.
I agree. He can't be put in jail. I agree because it's only going to stoke the flames. I think that we all have to get away from Republican and Democrat and just think about as long as the Republican Party only cares about the most viable candidate, then we'll have the strong men like Donald Trump. Everyone just needs to understand Donald Trump, Orange Jesus, your Lord and Savior, he cannot save you. He
won't.
One man
He also
cannot
won't.
save anyone. One man cannot save any of us. You have to get this out of your head. But that's like Ruth Ben-Ghiat, who's like a famous historian at NYU. I don't know if she's the department chair, but she wrote that book called Strong Men, which is all about authoritarian leaders and Trump. And it's like in times where when we move into late stage capitalism, scarcity in the economic market increases, then we're going to see people desperate and looking for a strongman who can save us. Nobody can save us.
When you talk about moving into, so obviously this is your dream. Like late stage capitalism just means one step closer to your
I don't
communist
want.
dream.
No, I don't like this.
Well, yeah, it's the hard, but that's the thing. When you accomplish, when you have goals,
It's
sometimes there's a
mathematically the
hard
next.
part.
Like I say, people like to call me a commie. I'm not a commie. I'm a realist. Like I'm talking about economic systems.
Yeah.
Exponential growth is not sustainable over
So-
time.
So I wanted to talk to you about this because you're a crazy commie, which you just said in your own words. That's who you are. You're a crazy commie.
That's what Thor calls me.
That's Thor. I don't know. I think Thor might have got banned yesterday. That's what I heard. I heard a rumor that Thor got banned. I have no idea if that's true or not. But as we move into these state like this late stage capitalism, the commentary from socialists or from communists is that like this is just part of it. We go into late stage capitalism and then we move into socialism or communism. Is there a way that you see forward where we can reverse it instead of going to communism or to socialism, a place where we have a more equitable, like capitalistic society?
Yeah. I just want to clear. We can look at the past and say like, okay, capitalism was a reaction in like the 16th, 17th century to feudalism, to master-slave relationships, to villages, and cool. That's where we saw the rise of merchants and the bourgeoisie. That's great. And then the reaction to that was socialism, communism, because it created no equity for anyone. I do not think the future of America is communism. I don't think it's necessarily pure socialism. I want everyone to understand economic systems, right? Marxism and communism and socialism have been made these buzzwords of that's evil. What you need to understand is the rest of the world has been educated since they were children in Marxist economic theory. That's why nobody on earth or in America can fathom what's going on with the Chinese. That's because they fundamentally were raised and educated differently than Americans. Economics never existed.
We couldn't learn that. It was banned. There, like states, federal government, they banned teaching anything about socialism or communism outside of like that's the enemy.
Absolutely. And you have to go to universities, and very rare universities. Like my Lord and Savior, if I had one, is Richard Wolff. I don't know. He's probably one of the foremost Marxist social economists in the world. And if you don't follow Richard Wolff on TikTok, I highly suggest it. But communism has nothing to do with anything you've been taught in America. All it is pre-capitalism. There was no economics. It wasn't a study, right? It was about community. Communism comes from the word communal. And how do we all survive? Having nothing to do with currency, nothing to do with money. In a village, some people made the bread. Some people were blacksmiths. And then all these goods and services were traded communally to support the system, having nothing to do with money. That's all communism is saying without money, without some government ordering to be around. How pre-capitalism did society exist without currency, communally? That's all communism is.
So if you were looking at the way forward for America, I think one of the tricky parts with America, especially for a dirty commie like yourself, is that you lose. I mean, we're not going to lose the state. We're not going to lose currency.
No, absolutely
So how do we apply those principles more equitably without losing the state and without losing the currency?
Yeah. And you know, you're in Arizona now. I was born in Arizona. To say that this state, I ever would have saw it turn purple or blue, whatever, it's mind blowing to me what's changed here. Change happens slowly over time, and it happens by moving the middle forward, right? You're moderate. I am not suggesting I want the Overton window to move left, but what I want is compromise, right? We need to subsidize capitalism. We're not taking away currency, like the World Bank's not going anywhere. We need to subsidize capitalism with socialistic programs, like what Europe's doing. Our step parents in Europe, the British Empire, they're all already doing this, right? We need universal health care. The public education system needs to be funded correctly. Secondary education should
and by
be
funded
funded
correctly, you mean, of course, vouchers, school choice.
I certainly do not mean that. I mean that public education, the growth of America, and including we're number one in gross domestic product. It starts with education. We need to be educating people, and not privately, publicly, and it should be free. And college should be free, or subsidized, like it already is in the UK. And the Scandinavian countries.
That for me, when it comes to MAGA, outside of Trump, because Trump scares me if he was president, because he will be vindictive, and he has no qualms about like giving himself more power or stepping over every single line. So outside of that, my biggest concern with conservatives is their war on education. It's an actual war on education. Don't let them fool you when they say like the war on woke. It's they don't like ideas that don't paint white conservative pilgrims as the hero. They don't like any of that. And they don't want people to be educated on economic theories. They don't want people to be educated on how capitalism can be corrupted or how we've turned into a crony capitalist state. So their only option as people get more and more educated is to fight back against the education. That's why every time a Republican comes up here, they're going to talk about the universities indoctrinating people. Well, heads up, folks. Like, everything you learn is fucking indoctrination. That's what it is. Like, if you're learning something from someone else, you can call that indoctrination if you'd like to. If you're not doing the work yourself to self-educate, then that's kind of what you're doing. If you're not doing the homework, if you just listen to what somebody says and believe it, sure, that's indoctrination. But it's the same thing Republicans do. everything they do is a self-report. Every Republican that tells me I'm indoctrinated, and then I spend an hour asking them to give me one single solitary goddamn fact about fucking anything, and they can't do it. Like they show indoctrination while they preach not to be indoctrinated. And that's
Well,
the scary thing.
The smart Republicans, the establishment, like if you look traditionally, this is why the Department of Education is starved, right? Once you start the rhetoric of the far right of let's abolish the Department of Education, now alarm bells are going off. Now books are being banned and people are like, what's going on? That's not smart. The Mitch McConnells are smart. They starve the budget. Make sure
Yeah.
that there's not enough funding to truly educate people. Make sure it's based on property taxes. So the education is going to the richest areas, right? And in that way, that's one of the ways Jim Crow is still alive, through public education.
Uh, Real quick, Abby, thank you for the raid. Everybody that came from Abby's live, thank you guys so much for the raid. It's lovely to have you here. You're all welcome. I have a question for you about the Republicans, just their strategy in general. And you're talking about Mitch McConnell, and how they strategically go about starving the budget. What do you think Mitch McConnell's end game is? Like if Mitch McConnell had his way, what would he do? And but why? That's the bigger question, I guess, for me. Why? Why
Well,
does
I
he
would
think this is a good strategy?
Well, I mean, think about what they want. This is about imperialism. The establishment Republicans, the conservatives, and now the neo-libs, right? That's where the name conservative comes from. The goal is to conserve all of the policies of the past, right? They don't want things to change. It makes sense, right? As everyone around us is innovating and changing, that America would change along with it as we grow, as we educate people. The conservatives say no. And like, what I'm going to say, hey, Nemo, what I'm going to say now is about Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has caused devastation in the lives of minorities, in the lives of the LGBTQ. I mean, what Mitch McConnell is responsible for over the last, decades is mind blowing. But when we take away how we feel personally, Mitch McConnell is a strategic genius. If
Yeah.
you want to know, nobody has consolidated more power over time than Mitch the Turtle McConnell, the most feared creature in the DC swamp. That guy runs that Senate with an iron fist. He's half there and still running that Senate with an iron fist. And if you want to see, you were talking, and I agree with this, we have to start doing either like daily reports or maybe a nightly special on Project 2025. Mitch
Yeah.
McConnell follows think tank policy. Mitch McConnell is the Heritage Foundation, and he is Leonard Leo, the man who controls all Republican politics. His name is Leonard Leo. He's responsible for the conservative majority on the Supreme Court, and he is Mitch McConnell. They are thick as thieves.
Yeah, I
And
don't
they
think people.
follow the Heritage Foundation policy.
I don't think people realize that the Heritage Foundation is the most powerful organization in this country when it, like, legislatively. Nobody has more universal support from their party. There's no pushback. No matter what the Heritage Foundation puts out, there is almost no pushback from Republicans. Project 2025 is fucking insane, and we're gonna cover more of that. But that's what you're talking about, the late stage capitalism. This is the time when fascism takes over, and I don't know how to effectively get that across to Republicans and even to Democrats. Like, we are in the early stages of a fascist takeover. We just absolutely are. And I don't know. Beating Trump is probably not enough. Somebody else will rise and they will be crazy.
I 100% agree. I think that someone said in the comments, no one cares about Mitch McConnell. He's a rhino. Well, I want to tell you that Mitch McConnell, no one is holding more power in the U.S. government currently than Mitch McConnell. That's what I'm trying to say. He transcends your opinion of him. Like, you know what I mean? I had an opinion for a while that during Trump's presidency that the only person who could call up the American military was probably Mitch McConnell. Like, this guy is so in bed with the Defense Department that there's no way to get him out at this point. But what will be interesting, in my opinion, is the move. Mitch McConnell is obviously not well. I prefer not to watch him live on TV. But when Mitch McConnell is no longer in control of the Senate, and it looks like his successor, the golden boy, John Thune, is going to be, yeah. Mitch McConnell's golden boy. John Thune will move into his place. The question is, can he control that Senate like Mitch does? Mitch is slaps down the MAGA senators on the, he is the one controlling the MAGA senators and keeping them in line. And I don't know if you know this, but Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden are thickest. They are friends. They hang out on the weekends. Like,
yeah, I bet they just sit there and stare off into the distance together for hours at a time. They're just not saying a word. Just
talking really quietly, never hearing each other, but then making moves. Like, these two men have consolidated power in a way that I don't think people are fathoming, that Donald Trump's rhetoric at this time cannot touch. But as Mitch McConnell is no longer leading the Senate, the question is, there's going to be a power vacuum.
Yeah. And who better to fill that power vacuum? Somebody that represents the whole of America better than a senator from South Dakota. Because if I know one thing about South Dakota is reflective of the everyday American.
I lived in South Dakota for a year.
What did you do in South Dakota?
I lived in Sioux Falls in downtown in this like high-rise apartment, and then like
there's no way there's a high-rise apartment in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, there was. There was
like
one.
Lie.
There was one, and I lived in it, and it was like right on a river that goes all the way around the city. I like kayaked and like rode my bike for like a year. I was just taking a little break, but like South Dakota is a wild place. Governor Christie, these people. Yeah,
that's
the
North
thought
Dakota.
Of John Thune, the ideology that's going on in South Dakota, leading the Senate. How is that different than Mitch McConnell from Kentucky? These are the same people. That's what I'm trying to say. John Thune has been Mitch McConnell's number 2 for how many years now?
However long he's been in the Senate, I think, right?
This isn't just all about money for who controls the Senate. They all have deals. They're all funneling money places. Like, did you see there's a new ad out today for Bob Menendez to resign? I also hate Democrats who are corrupt. Bob Menendez. There's
who put the ad out?
Gold bar Bob. If they have to come to your house and confiscate gold bars from the Egyptian government, you might need to resign. But then again, George Santos is just living footloose and fancy free.
Did you see? I saw a clip earlier. There's like 3 or 4 different images of George Santos doing the white power hand sign. Have you seen that?
No.
There's one of him. It was weird. I saw it on Twitter today. Like, they were making fun of him. He's got his right hand raised, and it's like he's like this, like on the side, like. And then people in the comments were posting more and more pictures. It's like, what? This dude, this tells you everything you need to know about being a conservative. If you get in trouble and you're a conservative, embrace the alt-right. That's your number one protection, is embracing the alt-right. Because whether Republicans want to admit this or not, that's your fucking base. Your base is the alt-right. Your base is the white nationalists. That's why so many white nationalists are protected. Nobody does anything about a white nationalist that comes into the Republican Party.
If you guys haven't read the indictment of George Santos, this man took his donors' credit cards.
It's kind of impressive.
Just went around swiping them.
I saw the interview he did the other day, and they're like, wait, so you took these credit cards and you just charged them, and why did you do that? And his defense was, look, every one of those people that complained, we gave them their money back. Not every one of those people, by the way. Everyone that
complained about credit card fraud.
Yeah, only the people that caught it and complained, those people got their money back. And then he loaned his campaign $500,000. He had like $6,000 to his name at the time. Nobody, and they're like,
well, they uncovered that. Do you remember who did? Yeah. Radar Online did a great investigative piece on the tie to the British oligarch that controls the copper in Russia.
Is that where the money's coming from? What do we got? Now we got to
worry
the
about wife
a copper
of a
conspiracy?
It's a long story. I'll explain it to you. It involves an SEC case. It's actually quite fascinating.
Do you want to explain it now?
Well, I mean, I can't remember, but basically there's a British guy who had, not a British guy, a Russian guy who has a company, a fund in the United States that was running. It got frozen. All the assets were frozen because it turned out like his cousin is a Russian oligarch who controls like the copper industry, aluminum, the aluminum industry in Russia. So those funds were frozen, then later unfrozen. And it turned out these people were caught up in Michael Cohen, was caught up with these people doing some business for Trump pre-election. And yeah, the wife of the guy whose company was frozen then unfrozen donated to George Santos. So this is
Terrific.
all, yeah, this is all related. And also, when George Santos, all this first came out, the first time it was revealed that he was probably a fraud and had all these campaign finance violations, who showed up to give him his PR crisis team? Steve Bannon.
Yeah, yeah. Which is crazy that so it's crazy that Steve Bannon is the guy that you call when you're a Republican.
Well, let's just hold on. Again, I Steve Bannon is scary, but like Steve Bannon's a
Brilliant.
strategic genius. Like he is
Yeah.
literally in real time defrauding millions of people, and they love it.
And
I
getting,
listen to the War Room.
pardoned for it.
I
The
listen
same
to the
people
War
that he
Room
stole
every day,
money-
so I know what's up with MAGA.
Do you really listen to the War Room every day?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Know thy enemy, Sun Tzu. That's what I'm saying about communism and socialism. If you're a far right Republican, then learn about the economic systems you're yelling you oppose, right? Know thy enemy. That's rule number one. Read Machiavelli, The Prince. Like, you want to succeed in politics, you have to understand who you're up against. So yes, I listen to the War Room every day.
That's who I think Guy Fawkes is. Do you run across Guy Fawkes very often on
Guy
here?
Fawkes, the
Not the
man
real
who tried
Guy
to
Fawkes.
blow up the British Parliament.
No, the Guy Fawkes that's on TikTok.
Oh, no, tell me about him.
You don't run it? Okay, so
I don't think so.
he basically he'll say neoliberal agenda 456,000 times in 10 minutes. He claims he's a leftist. He's always in right-wing spaces. He's always arguing against the left. I think that's what he does. I've accused him of that, and he's tepid denial every single time. But I think there are a few people on this app who are that exact same way. I think it's possible that that's what old Whataburger was doing. Who's the guy that's faking the accents that we thought we converted? Shit, help me on that name, folks, if you can. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Baking the accents? No, I don't want. Who are these
what was
people?
his name? You don't. There's different people in the morning. Lombardi.
Oh no, I've never met him, but I have heard the Discord talking about him.
He's a beautiful, beautiful soul. This is by the way, this person says they're opposition, Felice. I think they might want to talk to you. So I'm gonna bring them up.
Who is it?
It's this person. It's that one. Welcome.
Hi. So I've been
Hi.
going hard in the comments a little bit about just one talking point, but I also I just can't see one good idea conservatives have had in 70 years. Like not one legitimately good idea. And the other thing is that and Felice hit on this just for a second, but material reality and capitalism cannot work together in the model we have now. They just can't. I mean, maybe there's an imaginary model in this free market nonsense that's make believe, but anything's possible in make believe land. But as long as we continue to pretend we can have exponential growth, we're not going to be compatible with human life. And the other thing that you had kind of hit on, RTP, is that at some point, it's not about the money, right? It's about whether we value human rights. And if we participate in a way where people's needs are being met regardless of money, then we can still have money because people will be housed and fed and sheltered and watered and electricity. But we still live in so much manufactured scarcity, and these things are kind of in opposition to each other when we talk about it, right? Because we know that there is actually a scarcity of actual materials, but when it comes to meeting the needs of human beings, the scarcity has to be manufactured, because we certainly can meet the needs of human beings without even it really hitting a blip on billionaires' pockets, right? We could just empty a few billionaires' pockets and solve things like universal electricity, universal clean water.
We need to tax them out of existence. I'm sorry, that was dramatic.
There's no
it's a
reason for them
crime.
to
The
be
consolidation of that much wealth is a crime against the Commonwealth.
Indeed. And it's happening globally. right? And so they're holding on to all this money saying, well, we don't have money to fix these things because scarcity. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. But they also want to pretend like they can just continue to exploit resources with no consequences. And like, we know that that is not true. And that's part of where like the rapture and the anti-environmental science mentality comes in, is because we don't want to look at it, right? And so we want that escape from our own existence so that we can go to the afterlife happy forever. But that really takes away from our ability to like recognize that there are consequences to what we do. Right?
That's a really good point when you bring up the rapture, and you bring up like, as a former Mormon, I promise you, none of us were ever worried about global warming. We weren't worried about resources. We weren't worried about war, because everything that happens is under God's control and is part of his plan. So if you have climate change, if you have these type of events, if you have war, it's all just prophecies that are coming true. So it was a weird way to grow up, where when bad things happened, we always shrugged them off. We didn't, people starving, well, that's just part of God's plan, right? And we're just going to keep doing our job and keep those commandments that we've been given, and it'll work out. And that kind of indoctrination allows for these type of things. That kind of indoctrination allows for these billionaires to exist in the most unethical ways possible. But because most of a big portion of our country believes that there's a God and that God has a plan, well, he already knows, so he's going to take care of it in the end.
When blind faith comes into any conversation, right, it's a conversation ender, it's a debate ender, because you're outside of the bounds of logic, reason, and reality. And that's what scares me about religion. It should not be involved in economic conversations or political conversations.
Well, because it skews the reality we have to deal with. I mean, this is another thing. Like when it comes to the environment, like I'm not going to debate any of these other things, but I'll just say the man who pees into the wind gets wet. Like there are consequences to reality, and like to pretend like what we do doesn't impact our environment is to pretend like we can't build anything. Like you can't make bricks if you can't affect your environment. You can't build houses if you can't affect your environment. And so to like stop when it comes to the consequences to the environment is, I think, going to be the big turning point possibility in the 21st century, in this millennium. We have an opportunity to hold people responsible for the damage they do to the Commonwealth and to the commons.
I
Right?
want to say something real quick. I want to say this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe we should all drive electric cars and we should all be recycling. I think most of us are recycling. But the real reality of climate crisis and pollution and what's going on is that unless we get corporations, unless we can rein in the environmental terrorism of corporations like Monsanto, that's where we're losing ground. It's regulating corporations. Like we can all conserve water and do whatever till we're blue in the face, but unless we are holding corporations responsible for the pollution, and I'm not just talking about carbon futures, like BlackRock and their ESP, like, oh, but I bought a forest of trees to offset the fact that a bunch of corporations were holding in our portfolio or dumping waste in poor areas. So that makes up for it. No, it doesn't.
Well, too, and like part of that, Felice, is that we've been trained. So I have an engineering degree, but I also have a lot of environmental science degree stuff involved. And like one of the things we forget is that it's sold to us like it's our responsibility. And that is necessary. I mean, the whole recycling thing, right, was really so that companies could continue to make plastic bottles, right? And like the more we hold, I'm not saying you shouldn't recycle, but I'm saying we shouldn't be being held personally responsible for something that we're not creating. Right. And the military and industrial complex are the biggest polluters by far. I saw this crazy thing on TikTok where this guy was talking about how electric tanks are the like deep state. And I'm like, no, it's because like we need to be able to go places without making a big imprint, right? They're quieter, they have less pollution, they are harder to find because they have less heat signature, all of these things. And you're like, electric tanks are the Dems coming for our military. And it's like, like at some point we have to be able to like
I
deal
think.
deal with
Oh,
stuff in the material way. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. I think one thing that I've hung on recently is just that if you were however many people you have, say 200, 300 people, you go to a new land, like you take all 300 people, you say there's no money involved. We're giving you this land. You've got to develop this land into a country. There is not a single group that would build the economic structure that we have now. There's nobody. We would not. You would not give one person all the wealth, all the resources. You would divide it up. You would like every time any country, any piece of land has been settled, it's almost always something similar to communism. Every single time. And so that's the question I ask people. Is like, you would never design this. What we have now, you would never have designed. Nobody at the beginning would design this because everybody recognizes that it's unfair. But then when you're in it and you bring politics into it and you have Republican versus Democrat, you have a bunch of people that are literally arguing till they're blue in the face for policies that hurt them and policies that hurt the future. And it's so bizarre to me that people can't just step out of that and say, like, would I have designed this? Is this ideal for me? Hell, like, of course not. It's not ideal for me.
I mean, the other, like, I don't know if you guys have seen this
Hey,
video.
wait, I have to say something really quick. I don't want to interject. I think we should have a larger conversation or live about this later and talk about the future. But I think right now we should find some opposition. Is that cool? And then we can. I followed you, though. I love what you're saying. I love an engineer. I love to talk about this stuff. I would love to continue this conversation.
All right, I'll say my Audi then.
Oh, is the
Yeah.
box empty? Then we can continue talking. But we would like some opposition. So if you are a Republican and would like to come up and chat, we would love to talk to you. I'll share the live with my favorite Republican friend.
Appreciate it.
I
Trump
have
2024 is here
about
too.
that. Again, I don't think they have good ideas. I don't think there's a such thing as a conservative idea that's good. But what I want to say is that, like, so there's this video out there that, so you guys both know, right, that there's an economic disparity, right? And
First time I'm hearing about this. It's the first
What?
time.
but what ends up being true is that even when we know that, being able to really comprehend how attenuated that is hard to picture. I don't know if you've seen those videos where they show like the billionaire, right? His stat goes above the measure, right? We have the like line for what people have, and then there's the billionaire, and it's like whoosh, way over there. So we don't even, because it's like only 3,000 people, right? Which is like a dot with like 4 zeros. It's not 1%. It's like a percent of a percent of a percent. And like we just don't realize that when we're bootlicking. Like there's no
It's quite distracting to lick boots.
just give them a billionaire like black Amex and call it quits and be like, any more than this and you go to jail. Right? This is enough. Right? You shouldn't be able to buy an island nation with your pocket change.
I concur with that statement, sir.
Well,
This is how I think about it. If you there's a group out there right now called the Patriotic Millionaires, like look them up. It's fascinating. They are lobbying Congress to be taxed more now and fairly, and they like the Eisenhower top marginal tax rates of 90%. Why would a group of Republican and Democratic millionaires be lobbying to be taxed? How does that make sense? Because when you see the onset of late stage capitalism, this is the fact. Billionaires, they can hire private armies. They have islands. When French Revolution, the sequel comes, the billionaires are going to be able to get away, right? They have places to go. The millionaires are the billionaires' human shields. They are the ones that we will be able to get to. And the smart ones are recognizing this and saying, if we're not taxed fairly, if this doesn't change, if economic disparity continues to grow, they're the ones that are in the firing line.
Nice awkward silence there. I loved that.
all right, you can drop you to put out.
Hey, I followed you too, man. You're really smart. Thank you for jumping in. I love the jacket too.
I also love the windbreaker. I love a windbreaker. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
that
a
that
hoodie. We
jacket
can't wear
makes me
hoodies,
want to
but
get
we
a
can wear
trapper.
windbreakers.
Do you remember Trapper Keepers?
I do remember Trapper Keepers. Yeah.
That's- I feel like we need to get some.
Do they still make trap? Somebody look to see if they make Trapper Keepers. By the way, I'm gonna get in trouble. This is a Mac Miller hoodie that somebody sent me. Yeah, I'll show you the back. Maybe we'll cakewalk it for a second. Hold on. Get the chair out of the way. You can see the back of the hoodie. It's beautiful. Can we see the back of the hoodie there? Can you read it?
I mean, not the small print.
Yeah, it's just lyrics to a Mac Miller song. One cool thing about TikTok is now people will send you free shit, which is cool. And then you can, if you guys want it, you can buy it. And there's links. And I get in trouble if I don't say that. And I'm drinking this mushroom coffee today, and that link's in there too. It's called Stranger Coffee. And there's actually a reason behind this one. I'm trying not
microdosing.
I'm trying not to give Joe Rogan any money. And I used to take Alpha Brain because I actually thought Alpha Brain was good. So I'm looking for a Alpha Brain replacement because Joe Rogan's got plenty of money and he's an idiot. So I'm trying my best not to. So I've been drinking this mushroom coffee today, and it's delightful.
Attention in the comments. Trapper Keepers are still a thing. I think we should all purchase one.
Where do we get them?
I don't know, but
I'm looking it up right now.
Trapper Keepers.
Felice, can you say some incendiary things about Republicans to see if they'll come up and talk to you?
I'm not mean to Republicans. I would like to have a good conversation, or I guess we could just go with ignorance. Whichever one you guys prefer. I was thinking, why is it we can't have more good faith conversations with Republicans? I will listen to you if you will listen to me.
And I will listen to everybody because I'm not always the best at listening. It's like $15. You can get a Trapper Keeper for $15 on Amazon.
Thor, you want to talk? Thor's here.
He is. Look, if a Republican doesn't get in the box in the next 15 seconds, I'm inviting Thor. So, do your job, Republicans. Oh shit, Republicans don't want Thor representing them either.
I mean, Thor's cognitive dissonance.
There you go.
Good morning to you all.
Oh, dear Lord.
Hey, good morning.
Top of the morning to you.
Where are you, Thor? Nice. Why is there so much noise?
Felice.
What'd you say?
I said it's nice to see you early in the morning.
Normally you're just harassing me in the comments.
No problem. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
What's going on with the noise, Thor?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at McDonald's. I can go outside and no, I could go outside.
You're at McDonald's?
Yes, I'm at the evil McDonald Corporation.
Yesterday there was an accusation that Democrats can only get their internet at McDonald's. That was an actual theme yesterday. And then Thor shows up at McDonald's today. That's perfect. That's perfect timing, Thor.
Giving those corporate overlords all your money.
Oh, is it loud out here? I don't think anywhere I go is going to be quiet.
Is that your ear?
Yeah, that's his ear.
Yeah, I got my ear. I apologize. Let me go to my car. I'm going to go to my car. It's quiet in my car.
You miss it. There was a time on our live, me and Nima, where Thor literally in the middle of it took a shower. Took his phone into the shower while we were all in there. And we were... First he did a marathon. He walked 5 miles. Then he was swimming in his pool. Then he literally took his phone into the shower, and everybody just lost their shit. It was like, get out of here and turn your phone off.
I didn't want to miss anything.
What, Thor? What does this get for you? I'll give you credit. You go into a lot of leftist spaces. What do you get out of this?
You know what I get out of it? I get a lot of understanding the left side. Now I can go into the right side, and we can play kumbaya, and I can agree with all the stuff, and we can rattle off the things that the left does, and I get it. But it's not fun listening to everyone say the same thing, and I like to hear different point of views, and that's why I go on different views. And wait,
can I address something? I wanted to address something you said. Well, it was in my comments, but it was about something you heard us talking about in a live. I was saying that you said I was defending capitalism and saying that we need wars in terms of foreign policy in order to fund the economy here. What I was saying to you, Thor, and have always been saying is for the MAGA talking point that Trump has of there's always peace under Trump, these wars need to end. First of all, that's not true. World War II has never ended. America is always involved in proxy wars. And the next point to that, Thor, is not that I'm saying that capitalism is a good thing. I'm saying to the MAGA Republicans who want to scream that talking point, notice there's never a solution. You want wars to end, then get ready for inflation to skyrocket. You guys in the next breath are talking about gas prices. Gas prices will skyrocket. My question to MAGA Republicans is, what are you willing to give up domestically here in America? How tough are you willing for life to get in order to stop wars around the world?
My coffee.
Thor, answer the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I mute? I'm willing to give up my coffee. And I'm willing to that was probably a fictitious joke, but I'm probably willing to give up.
I don't think she was asking like what you're doing for Lent this year. I think she was talking about the budget.
That's what I thought it was. Like, I'm willing to give it up. I'm willing.
You see how it's a quagmire? Because the answer is Republicans, conservatives want to conserve. They don't want change. But what I'm trying to get the point across is stop talking about no more wars, because the wars, the American military's forward positions around the world that are protecting the resources we're stealing from everyone else and we're privatizing in American corporations, that's how things here are so great. So if you want our foreign policy to change, then you have to be willing for things to get bad here.
Like how bad?
Thor,
I don't know. I mean, to the point where
gas prices will the international supply chain will be disrupted. Products and services will skyrocket. The prices will go up.
I'm willing to sacrifice maybe a year of going through hardship.
It's not a year, Thor. It's a complete change to the way we live.
Oh,
we're destabilizing the commodities markets around the world if we pulled back our forward military positions. So, like for instance, in Ukraine, everyone's like, Ukraine doesn't affect the American economy. It absolutely does. It's the bread basket of westerns of Europe, of the Middle East. If we lose grain in one area, that's not just going to affect that one area. That destabilizes the entire supply chain around the world.
You know what? I don't know. I'm gonna think about this. What you said. I have to go do something.
You stop calling me a commie in the comments and saying that it's I have too much time on my hands and it's sad that all I do is promote communism and I'm paid by China. Could you stop saying those things?
I didn't say China, but I will stop. And apparently I have a lot of time on my hand as well, since I've been in a lot of lives. So that could be a little hypocritical, but I do have to leave. I thank you, RTP, for allowing me on here. I'm gonna let other people to get on. I know your little viewership wants me to go. But
this was your best performance so far. It was very.
I know, it's my in and my out.
You do a good job when you're listening. It was much. Better
I know. Maybe you're uncaffeinated. You know what I mean? You're just starting out this morning.
Yeah, but you guys look great. RTP, you look good as well. All right,
guys, you. Appreciate it. You look all right. See you, buddy.
You look mediocre. Just kidding. You look great, Thor. Love your face. Don't change for anyone. Not even a court order.
All right, trying to get opposition. I don't know if these people are opposition or not, but we'll bring them up. Toxic Jessica Wabbit.
Sorry about that. Hey, I'm not opposition, but I am trying to start a movement.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about it?
Sorry. So, yes, I got most of my friends on board.
Well, I'm gonna drop you down. Why don't you? The audio is terrible. Let me drop you. Come back up. I'm gonna bring up the next guest. See if you can fix the audio.
I do want to hear about the movement.
I do too. We just
I
gotta.
love a movement.
There's too much background noise there, and then we had the echo. This is Do, I believe.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. What's up? You're happy as shit this morning.
No, I just get a kick out of you guys. You guys do crack me up.
Thank you.
But I wanted to say to Felice, am I saying it right, Felice? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Well, so what I wanted to say to you was this whole notion that the U.S. military across the globe that really stems from World War II as part of the deal to keep the world from doing exactly what the Germans had done, and to keep countries like Japan from rebuilding itself, and in particular doing what they did on December 7th. So we have military bases basically in the countries that were involved in World War II, and our whole plan is to keep them from being able to be a threat to basically the world over again.
Okay, well, World War II was when, in the last time in modern history that we redivided up the world, right? America became the richest country in the world following World War II. It was the largest power grab of all time. It's also the largest expansion of what you're describing, colonialism, right? So if we want to talk about World War II, following World War II, there was two groups. There was, the Allies and the people that fought against them. And then what became, and people don't realize this, the Third World. The Third World is what America labeled any country that refused to take a side. Then we started those became the countries we looked to mine natural resources from and limit economically, right? The countries that allied with us became other economic powers, right?
Right.
You can say, like, it sounds like you're debating with me the nobility of what happened post World War II. I'm talking about economically how our country functions, how capitalism functions, and that proxy wars, our forward military positions, are necessary for the function and continued exponential growth that we need for our economic system to function. Now, I'm of two minds. Good things can also happen, right? It's not mutually exclusive. It's not one thing, right? In addition to that, maybe like you say, we're keeping some people at bay. I would say that that's obviously not happening anymore. Japan is allied with us. Italy's more authoritarian, but they're allied with us. What you saw post World War II was the demonization of Marxism, socialism, in lieu of promoting that capitalistic vision so we could get exponential resources, mine exponential resources around the world. Some guy was up here, I don't know if you remember RTP, who was saying that Germany was actually socialist. I was just re-educating myself on some history, and Germany actually jailed socialists, Marxists, communists more than any other country, and during World War II. It was an ideology that was being stamped out. Germany was moving forward with capitalism just as America now has. The McCarthyism, that's what happened after World War II. We had many Marxists in government who were rounded up in America and fired. And that's, or jailed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, I'll buy that.
I'm not like America. You're saying that what we're doing is we're the police of the world. It's a moral thing. I'm saying it's an economic thing. Our sustainability and keeping the world economy functioning, right, is our number one priority. That's how we're surviving. That's how we have the largest gross domestic product in the world. But at times, are we possibly doing some good? Sure. Our role is to protect Western civilization. That's what imperialism is, right? To protect our allies.
Right.
and steal from those we do not consider our allies.
Well, yeah, okay. All right. Um, although, would you, um, so when we went to war in, was it 91? I mean, we didn't go there because we wanted, as you say, to gobble up resources. We went there, and you can correct me if
What
I'm
are you
wrong.
talking about? Desert Storm? What are we talking about?
Desert
91.
Storm,
Okay.
and we've been accused of going in there to capture the oil, and I, I don't necessarily agree with that. Um,
I don't know. I think it's always when it involves the Middle East, the first word is always oil. There are many types of natural resources. I don't know, canals like the Suez Canal that America has an interest in that there's many reasons. It's not always oil and gas that we're involved in the Middle East. But I would say, and I think Nemo would agree, I'm just going to give him credit for what I'm about to say, but Desert Storm was one of the cleaner operations America ever did. We went
oh
in
yeah,
there and we
absolutely,
actually left. So,
It,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
it's also not fair to say that like every time we step into a conflict, it's specifically about a commodity or specifically about destabilization. But we capitalize off of it every time, and then we stay there forever. So even if the start of a war had, even if you want to defend like what started a war, how we entered into a conflict, it's how we exit that is, or never exit really, that is what is that is nice sentence. That's what Felice is talking about. It's how we exit or don't exit, and we stay all over the world. And once we've entered a conflict, we just are like, okay, we're here now. We get to stay here forever. That's the point that's being made here. It's not necessarily that we always start wars for certain reasons. I think that when we entered into Afghanistan after 9/11, I think that most of the people who were making that decision and most of the people who went there honestly went there thinking they were fighting like a war that was worth fighting. But that doesn't mean that we didn't go in and extract the resources and just stay there forever.
well, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I never expected we were going to win that war because nobody has ever beaten Afghanistan. The Russians were there for,
It's where
I think,
militaries go to die.
yeah,
It's the unconquered land.
yeah. And, Russia had a 10-year war with them. We had a 20-year war with them. Though I think, we might have kept more people alive than the Russians did, but it's an unconquerable land. There's too many places to hide. Um, they can go far underground. You're just never going to win in a place like that. And the
But couldn't destabilization be the point?
yeah, it could.
What you know what I'm saying? Like I think the interest is we're creating constant power vacuums there, which is an issue, but also possibly the point, right? I mean, that's what we do. Like RTP is 100% right. It's less about the reason we're entering places, but more about what we do after. Like when the CIA comes in, and then you start hearing about the democratic elections, and whoever
Yeah.
when we're electing a somebody who supports capitalism, and then next thing you know, the American corporations are in there privatizing the country. That's what the issue is.
You know, talking to you now, yeah, okay, I can see that point. Um, Call me naive, I always tended to believe following World War II that our being in certain regions were for safety reasons. But you're right. I mean, it's also about gobbling up what you can to make life better here at home. So yeah, I can see that. Um, but I still there's still a part of me that believes it's there to also keep the region from being able to go to a World War III.
I mean, yeah, we don't want anybody else consolidating power on our watch, right? There's a reason we are the standing military for many countries, and I think we like it that way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And the other interesting
We're the
thing is,
largest arms dealers in the world, too. You know, the American stop. We are literally the largest arms dealer in the world. We arm both sides of conflicts. Like,
oh
if
yeah,
you've seen Lord of War, Nicolas Cage is the United States.
Actually, Nicolas Cage is always the United States in every scenario. Nicolas Cage is America.
Have you seen the video? I just have to say this. One of my favorite YouTube videos. Have you seen the video of Nicolas Cage yelling? And it's just different clips of him in movies just screaming. If you ever, whenever you're having a bad day, just turn on the YouTube video of Nicolas Cage screaming, and it will change your whole mindset.
Without Nicolas Cage, we wouldn't have known that most of our founding documents are also treasure maps. We would not have known that without Nicolas Cage.
that's true.
Oh my gosh, that's important. National treasure. I mean, he's so many oldies but goodies with Nicolas
Hey,
Cage.
do you say your name Do?
Does he
Doe?
read scripts? You know what I'm saying?
I don't think he
Nic-
can read. I don't think he
I
can
have
read.
to change that name. I don't know why it gave me Do, but yeah, I gotta change that. I'll next time you guys see me, I'll have a different name.
Yeah. So where do you fall on the spectrum, like politically? You're the way that you're talking. I'm having a really hard time, like pigeonholing you, which is what I love to do to everybody, is pigeonhole them. Do you have? Are you kind of like anti-war or?
No, I'm not anti-war. To be honest with you, I used to be Republican. Um, you guys might find this hard to believe, but I fell in love with the Republican Party under Reagan. And even though
He was a charmer. That
he
old Ronald,
was,
he was a charmer. He
he,
said
he
silly
He's a
jokes.
Hollywood actor. You
Yeah.
got by right. We all got.
I don't think so. I genuinely think he cared about the country. Um, certainly the later part of his presidency, yeah, you could see that there was something wrong with him. And,
Well, when he became president, he knew he had Alzheimer's. Like, you're aware of that, right? Like, you guys are, the Republicans are always talking about Sleepy Joe. Reagan had Alzheimer's.
I know he did,
Okay,
but I didn't know he knew early. I didn't know he knew early
Well,
on.
actually, I don't want to say that. I don't know, but that's, I mean, things I've read.
Right. No, I mean, I knew he had it. And Nancy went to great lengths to protect him. And they basically said Nancy ran the country the last half
It's a
of
true
his.
love story. Well, do me a favor. I'm going to go on to the next guest. Oh, she got it. Sorry, Jen. I forgot to. I was going to bump to the next guest. Here's what I've been told about you, Ra. I didn't see any of your comments, but I've been told that you weren't very happy with some of the things we said. So we thought we'd give you an opportunity to speak up here instead of in the comments.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I've been on your live before,
Oh,
but
okay.
usually you have like 6, 7 people all
That's.
screaming at each other.
Oh, he's talking to Felice. I was gonna say that wouldn't necessarily be mine.
Oh
Yeah.
no, 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 no! You're live. I've been on your live. I don't think.
Oh, I just do
Actually, I don't think.
one-on-ones.
I'm going to follow you before you
Um,
say something that angers me. So follow me back.
yeah, I followed you too, Felice.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
what's
I
up?
don't think I've seen your live, Felice. Do you go live? Because usually I see you over here.
Yeah, I do lives with Nemo and
Okay.
Political Mom on Friday and Saturdays. Yeah, and all
Okay.
around here now.
But yeah, well, like in the comments and everything, I just commented on a lot of things other people were saying. Like, but our government has actually literally fueled all conflicts and everything, all times. I mean, we fuel both sides, just like you actually said towards the end. Uh, no new conflicts under Trump, but yes, there's always conflict going on, especially like in the Middle East and things like that.
What do you mean there was no new conflicts under Trump? What does that mean? This is
No
a
new
weird talking
conflict.
point that Republicans are saying right now. It feels like a real technicality. So what do you mean when you say that?
No new conflicts. Just like this crap with
But
Israel and
like
all
what's
that,
a
the crap with Ukraine, those
what
are
I'm asking
conflicts.
what I'm asking is, like, how do you define a conflict? What's a conflict?
People fighting. That's a conflict.
Okay, so like let's say any firefight, or does it have to be between two states, two
Well, just like
countries, two
Ukraine and all that.
groups?
Well, just like Ukraine, just like Israel.
Okay, but like neither one of those people are fighting us, right?
They're always fighting us. That's why they're always chanting the one certain phrase and all that. But yet we still fund the crap out of them.
Wait,
And then when one
what's
person,
happening in Israel is between Israel and Palestine, not between. Nobody's attacking us, right? We didn't
yeah,
attack
and
them; they
it's
didn't
funny
attack
that
us.
yeah, and it's funny that they unfroze $6 billion and all that right before it happened. And then
I
after it
think it was
happened,
8 billion. But do you know where that
yeah.
money went?
And then after it happened, they
Wait, but do you
refroze
know
the
where that
money.
money went?
Then after it happened, they
But do you know
refroze
where
the
that
money.
money went? Was the question I was asking.
Well, I know where they say it was supposed to be going and all that and what it was supposed to be used for. But I also remember the report where he came out and said, we will use our money the way we see fit, and you will not tell us how we use our money.
Yeah, but we didn't give them that money. It's held in a trust. They don't have that money. They have to get authorization to use that money, and it has to be only for humanitarian aid. We didn't just give it to them and say, "Hey guys, do the right thing with this."
It was their money also. Do you understand
Correct.
that it wasn't our money ever? It wasn't taxpayer money. It was Iran's money that we froze
That's
because
the
of that was
whole
frozen in
purpose.
Qatar because of sanctions. So
Yes,
it
that's
was
the whole.
never our money in the first place. We just froze their money.
Yes, that's the whole reason I said unfroze and didn't say give. They didn't
Right.
fly planefuls of cash like under Obama. They
Which was
just
again,
unfroze their
wait,
bank
hold
account.
on, before we go there. You understand that they can't use this money for anything other than humanitarian aid, and we have mechanisms to control that, right?
Okay, so if I gave you $100 and all that and told you to use it on this specific thing, you can't use it on anything else,
Well,
right?
here's how this would work. You would give the $100 to Felice, and you would say, "Felice, Jay can only use this to buy a McDonald's." We're on a McDonald's theme today, which I really like.
Yeah, I
And so
know.
I go to Felice and I say, "Hey, I need $100 or I need $5 for McDonald's. I'm gonna get some chicken nuggets." And she says, "Great. Where's the order?" I show her the order. She gives me the $5. I pay the $5 to McDonald's, and then it's paid. She's just essentially walking around right next to me, making sure that I only spend that money on McDonald's.
And you honestly,
Do you think that's different than you giving me $100 and just trusting that I'll only spend it on McDonald's?
think they're right there side by side
No,
with
I
them the
asked you a
whole time
question though. The
walking around.
question I asked, do
Yeah,
you
no,
see
you're
how
trying
that?
to control the information.
No, I'm not trying to control the information. I'm trying to have a conversation with another human. So I'm asking if you recognize that there's a difference there.
Yes, but I'm asking
Okay.
you and all that.
Now,
Are
do
they
you
walking
know
right
who the
beside
third
them?
party?
See,
Do you know
this
who
is
the
why I
third
didn't want to
party
come
is?
up because you like to control the information and try to
I'm not controlling
lead
the information,
people
dude.
into the
I'm actually
and
just asking you
lead people into the
questions.
question that you want.
I'm just asking you questions, dude. I'm literally giving you all the time to talk, just not about whatever you want. I'm just asking you
The truth,
questions. Okay, so
because you want to
do you know
control
who
the
the third
topic
party
and where
is?
it goes. But answer my question, all that, since I would answer yours. Are they following
I
them
was almost
around,
done. I
making
just want to.
sure
You can. I'll let you answer your
that
question. Just do you know who the third party is?
What do you mean third party?
Who's holding the money?
Uh, Not really sure.
So, do you think it's a little strange that you have a strong opinion on what's happening with this money and how it's being used, but you don't know the mechanisms? You don't know who's holding the money.
Exactly. See what I mean? You want to control the information and all that, and
No,
try
I'm
to
asking
control
you a
the
question.
topic.
Do you think it's strange that you
Yes,
have a
just
strong
like
opinion
somebody in the
without all the
comments says.
facts?
You literally
No,
look up
calm
everything
down,
before
brother.
you do
Everyone
it.
breathe.
Calm down,
Everything's
You
brother.
okay,
literally look up
everyone.
everything before you go live so you can focus
Yes,
directly
I
on a
do.
certain
Yes, I do
topic.
fact check, and you should
And,
do the same thing.
no,
But
you
I'm
don't fact
I
asking
check.
didn't
you.
I didn't think about this before. I just want you to know though that Trump made this account, right? The Trump administration. This
I
account
know it
thing
always goes back
was
to Trump.
made. No, I know, but I'm just no. I listen. I don't care. I don't think this issue should have anything to do with who is elected. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter president to president. That account was created in Korea originally, right? For Iran by the Trump administration, and then it was transferred to Qatar later because it was easier for banking purposes. But I'm just saying that's the origination of the account. It was created under the Trump administration and then later sanctioned by the Biden administration. I do not think that Trump should be faulted for creating that account, nor do I think Biden should. That's my opinion.
I agree with
Well,
that.
anybody can create anything. How it's used and all that by somebody else is completely different.
But that's what we're saying. So you're arguing the same point as me. Is
Yeah,
it first
exactly.
it yeah, it hasn't been used
Yeah,
for
if the
school
previous
universe.
person created something and somebody
Yeah, and so I'm saying neither
corrupts
one
it,
is.
yeah,
This isn't a point that we should be saying let's vote for someone or based on this because it's a
exactly.
wash essentially.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can't hold, just like if Biden comes up with something that's actually good, we're still waiting for that, but, and the next person and everything like that completely corrupts it and screws it up, well, it's not on Biden because the next person up screwed it up.
yeah, see, my opinion on all this, it mirrors what Felice is saying. Like, I think that we give too much credit and too much, I guess, too much of a hard time to presidents for things that happen that aren't entirely under their control. But the main thing I'm trying to get at here is that uh, we bring up points to try and argue which side is better or what's going on. And if we don't have all the facts, then the point doesn't really land, right? This money is sitting in a Qatari bank. Iran does not have this money. It is sitting in a Qatari bank, and the U.S. has strict control over how that money can be released, why it can be released, and we have authorization. We have final authorization on whether or not that money can be released. So, in order to say that this money somehow kicked off what's happening in Israel with Palestine, to somehow make that connection, you then have to go into conspiracy land where the U.S. is allowing this money to be released to kick off this war, and that's where it gets tricky. Like sometimes things are just coincidences. Sometimes
Well,
they are.
why was the money frozen in the first place?
The money was. Do you remember, Felice? I can't remember if this was.
There's a good reason why it was frozen in the first place. And then
Well,
it was
tell us.
unfrozen
Will
for
you
a
tell
short
us what it
time
was?
for terrorism. They were deliberately tied with funding all these cells. And then they unfreeze the money and then freeze it back.
Iran's
Shortly
assets
after,
were first. Okay, let me look
and
this up.
then the crap with Israel happens and all that, and then they
Well, I mean,
refreeze it.
originally yeah. So the 6 billion was unsanctioned, so we could get prisoners back, right? Like that's how it was unfrozen. That's why it was
Yeah,
originally going to Iran was going to have access to it because there were the six
yeah,
American prisoners that we recovered.
yeah. It was paying, yeah, of course, and everything like that. It was pretty much paying a ransom.
Which now we unpaid, which is in true American fashion.
Yeah, because the Democrats pay for everything. Actual
Oh,
leaders and
five
all that
Americans were freed.
negotiate.
Excuse me, I said six.
Well, just like with the whole Brittany Greener and all that. They released the Merchant of Death for her.
The money had been in South
That was
Korea,
a
and banks were reluctant to
really
transfer it for
bad
fear
trade.
of running afoul of sanctions. Under the deal, yeah. So it was the prisoner transfer when the money was transferred to Qatar.
But yeah, the whole Brittany Greener thing and all that, trading the Merchant of Death for her. But most of the
Wait,
people and all
see,
that
this is the
don't.
thing. Explain to me who the Merchant of Death is.
You ever watched Lord of War with Nicolas
I've
Cage,
watched
right?
Lord of War. Yeah,
There
but
you
We
go.
explain
just
to
referenced
yeah.
it. I
So
love that
There
movie.
you go.
he was an arms dealer.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
very, very bad individual that you do not want just roaming around.
Wait, he was an arms dealer. He had access to arms and he sold them. This is no different than like we've
The
done the
United
same
States
thing.
is the
Like,
biggest arms dealer in the world. So
yeah?
if
Did
you're
you see
screaming, keep that same energy for us because we're much bigger than one man dealing
ninety
arms.
percent of the
Exactly.
guns?
And
90% of the guns on the southern border that come across the southern border. 90% of the violence that happens from weapons. Those are in south of our border. That comes from us. You watch the movie War Dogs. Look at like we've done all this stuff too. Being an arms dealer is being a capitalist. Being an arms dealers are generally not mercenaries. They generally are not the people causing the violence. They're giving people the weapons. When people call this guy the Merchant of Death, it's absolutely just an attempt to try and make him sound scarier than he is. He's an arms dealer. We're a bigger arms dealer. There's arms dealers sitting in prison right now in America that were American citizens. Nobody ever calls them Merchant of Death. But this is a political ploy by Republicans to criticize every single thing Joe Biden does. Now, if you want to look at people releasing prisoners who wound up having power later, we could talk about the person running Afghanistan right now that was released by Trump.
I just want to, can we, before we move off
Okay,
this
so
little
you
topic,
are
someone in
all
the
about
comments, wait, hold on
no
one second.
gun.
Someone in the comments helped us out and just said the 6 billion was originally frozen due to Trump's sanctions on Iran's oil exports.
In South Korea, right? It was
Yeah.
frozen. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was moved for the prisoner transferred to Qatar. That's what happened. Okay. So yeah, I just thank you so much in the comments.
The point is, and I'm not trying to say like one side is worse than the other with these, but like every time you have a prisoner swap, anytime you have a release like this, there's going to be plenty of
And
stuff that you can say. There's plenty of
and
stuff that you're going to be able to say every single time, and almost every time it's propaganda. I will say this I would rather trade an American citizen who was moronically uh, caught in Russia. Russia knew what they were doing. Russia knows that these athletes are bringing cannabis over. They know that every athlete in the world is using cannabis. It's essentially she had a vape pen essentially in her bag, and they held her for
no,
that
she had drugs.
for a vape pen, and they knew because they knew like, hey, if we can get somebody here, then we can get something we want.
I just need to say one thing as well. There's also the narrative I can't stand as a Division 1 athlete. I know you were too as well, RTV, but you're a man, so you don't get it. So, like the reason people say, like the right loves to say, why was Brittany Griner in Russia? Why are you so dumb to have, the devil's lettuce on you? What the reason is, female athletes, she's one of the premier female athletes in the world. You can't make enough money to survive in the US. So once the WNBA season is over, you know who pays? Ironically, they don't treat women well, but you know where, for myself, a volleyball athlete, and basketball, female athletes get paid the most?
Russia.
In Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
In Russia and the surrounding
Serbia.
countries.
Yeah.
That's
You know
why
why
she's
that is,
there.
right?
She's supplementing her income so she can survive.
You know why she does that? Well, you know why that happens, right? From the NBA to the WNBA, right? Because the women's basketball league makes no money. The men's basketball league pays for
Okay,
the
so
women.
we're not
That's why
debating the economics.
discrepancy
I understand.
between.
I'm explaining to
Yeah,
you why my point is not, and I do understand revenue behind athletics. Trust me,
yeah.
I do fully understand that.
But she broke
What
the
I'm
law.
just, what the point I'm making is just that the reason she's there is to supplement her income because she doesn't make enough here. It wasn't she's on a tour of Russia, hanging out, smoking the devil's lettuce. That's not what was going on.
And she went to another country and broke the law, just like many people have ever done. Like,
I Yeah, we
y'all
get
want to
it.
focus on
We get
Brittany
it, but
Griner and all
like,
that, but have
but
you guys ever heard of Mark Fogel? A lot of
yeah,
people have never heard of him.
yeah.
Why didn't he get released? Because he was an international school teacher and all that, that actually had a really bad accident, back surgery, all this stuff, was prescribed the same medicine and all that, that she was just using recreationally, and he's still in jail.
Yeah, they've tried to do a
They
swap.
didn't try at all with
How?
him. His
What are you
name was
talking
not
about?
even
Both
brought
That's
up.
not
Russia.
true. His family even came out and said that please stop using him as an example to try to shame the country because they have been trying to free him.
There's a reason.
And in my opinion, I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think we need to look at Brittany Griner wasn't going to be made example of. She's a black woman. She is a lesbian. These are things that are make her unbelievably unsafe
Yep, check
in
off
the
two of the
Russian
boxes
prison
for the
system. No, I'm just
Democrats to
telling
get
you facts.
votes.
I'm just telling you facts. But yes, I don't want any Americans to be held prisoner anywhere around the world. No one does. It's a nightmare.
Yes, but you don't make really bad trades that put
Yeah,
more
but
people
you
in danger over trying to confuse people to get their votes. And that's exactly what Brittany Griner was all about, was getting votes.
Yeah, so part of the difficulty in negotiating with Russia when you're looking at prisoner exchanges, and by the way, if you're going to talk about Mark Vogel, can you please at least bring up the fact that like he worked for our government, that he was there as an ambassador, like, and so not only was he working for our government as an ambassador, but he also broke the same law as somebody who should be aware of it and is representing the United States. Now, again, I agree. He should be freed. But the problem in negotiating with Russia, especially somebody high profile, there's a person that Russia really, really wants. There's a book called Red Notice. You can read about it. There's a guy named Bill Browder. Bill Browder had an attorney who the Russians recorded them unaliving while he was in jail. His name was Magnitsky. You can look at the Magnitsky Act. That's an act that was passed bipartisanly, started by John McCain, but basically saying like, if Russia issues a red notice, which is saying that if you get this person, you have to send them back. A red notice, if you put that out there, then countries can't give that person quarter, right? So Russia issued a red notice for Bill Browder because what Bill Browder did is he realized that everybody in Russia was really fucking stupid when it came to economics and that they were undervaluing the hell out of all of their, like, specifically oil companies. And in Russia, the government owns 50% of the oil or of the companies. So Bill Browder went in and he started buying up shares, convincing people to sell him shares of the publicly owned shares, and he started buying up all these shares in these oil companies and making people aware that these are undervalued. So suddenly the Russians realized that their oil companies were worth way more than they had valued them, and Bill Browder was becoming very, very rich. So what Russia did is they just took those shares. They just stole them back. And then he hired Magnitsky as his attorney, and Magnitsky was representing him in the courts, and they didn't like that, so they jailed Magnitsky, they unalived him, and Bill Browder was on the run, and he's been safe. He's an American citizen and a British, or he was an American citizen. Now I think he's a citizen of the UK. I think he gave up his citizenship in the United States. But the Trump Tower meeting, that was about Bill Browder. This guy, that's about Bill Browder. They want Bill Browder because Bill Browder made them look silly, and Bill Browder continues to expose how screwed up their economic system is and how corrupt they are. So when you get a diplomat like Vogel, they're trying to trade for Bill Browder. The United States is not going to go find an innocent man who doesn't live here and deliver that person to the Russian government for them to end his life. They're not going to do that. This is not. They tried to get Browder with Griner. That's why it took so long. And eventually they thought, nah, we've got Vogel, because that happened in 2021. We've got Vogel. That's a better piece. And they made the trade, and they went for the arms dealer instead. But you have to understand the whole picture of how Russia tries to capture people so that they can get people who have exposed Putin and their system specifically. That's who they want. They want the people who defected and told on them. That's why it's difficult to do prisoner swaps with Russia.
Okay, so why wasn't Paul Wheeling brought up?
What?
Why wasn't Paul Wheeling brought up?
What do you mean? What are you asking?
You know, they care
He's doing
so
a
much
what about
the
Paul?
military.
What about Paul now is what we're on. That has
No.
nothing to do with what
Why
he
did they
just
go
said.
after Brittany Griner, somebody that broke the law in another country? They traded the Merchant of Death for her.
It's not the Merchant of Death, dude. Stop saying that. That's so silly. You know that's so outlandish. You're only using that so that it makes your argument sound more impactful. He's not a Merchant of Death. He's an arms dealer, dude.
Nobody has sold more arms in the world than the United States of America. So keep that. Don't say United States of. Make sure you say Merchant of Death when you refer to this country from now on. Your point is collapsing upon itself. That's what we're trying to say.
Wait, but Paul Whelan.
Hold on. Okay.
Paul Whelan was arrested for espionage. And again, former Marine, that carries more weight. They're trying to get the United States to do things for them. Brittany Griner didn't carry as much weight. That's why they were able to do that prisoner exchange. They want more than the Merchant of Death for Paul Whelan. They want more. It's not like it's like you think the government chose we're gonna get Brittany Griner and none of these other people, or that Brittany Griner was first to the list. No, Brittany Griner was the only person we could get in exchange for the Merchant of Death. That was the exchange. They weren't gonna give us Paul Whelan for the Merchant of Death. They weren't going to do that.
But the Democrats make bad deals, plain and simple.
Oh my God. See, this is the thing. Like
something with
what other bad deals? What other bad deals are you talking about?
Just like you brought up the guy that's running Afghanistan and tried to tie it with Trump. Well, what about the person that they released from Guantanamo Bay that ended up heading the Taliban for the soldier that left his post?
Yeah.
You know, they make bad deals.
We're saying the same thing here. We're saying the same thing.
It's crazy.
Both sides release crazy people. Like, this is part of it. First of all, Guantanamo shouldn't fucking exist. The fact that Guantanamo even exists at all is horrific.
Where should they be?
Trump tried to have the Taliban at Camp David. Like, I'm just missing, like, this is what I want, is like, keep the same energy for the Republicans, the energy that you have towards the Democratic Party and what's going on right now. Just use the same logic and apply it to both sides. Definitely. And then we agree. But that's what you're failing. It's always about the Democrats and what they're doing. You need to take your logic and look at
because
what's happened.
because they make bad deals.
You just explained the bad deal, and
Just like
I walked you
Afghanistan and all that.
it was a good deal. I walked you through that deal. You brought up two people who you thought could be exchanged for Brittany Griner instead. I explained it to you. I spent all this time telling you stuff you didn't know, and instead of saying, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. That's sensible," instead you pivoted and said, "Well, Democrats make bad deals." Dude, like it just seems like no matter what happens, you're just going to be partisan. I'm not even being partisan on any of
Because
this.
they
None of
do
this is
it.
partisan. I'm just laying out the facts of what happened, and because it happened under Biden, apparently, you have to be mad at it.
No, because the Democrats do stuff and everything for votes. Just like the
So do
student loan,
Republicans, dude.
just like the
Everybody
student
does that.
loan
I worked for the
forgivenesses,
dude. I worked for
George
the
Floyd,
Republican
all
Party.
that stuff
Everybody
was
does
for
that.
votes.
Everybody does that. That's
Yes,
literally.
but
I don't know if you saw earlier. Youngkin in Virginia literally sent out checks, gave people free cash 4 days before the election. Everybody does this. What Felice is
exactly.
saying, keep the same energy both ways.
Okay, show
You're
me.
just hyper partisan.
No, well, no. Show me a really bad policy and everything that the Republicans did just for votes.
Uh, how about Glenn Youngkin giving out money, cash, just for votes? I
Was
just
that
gave
just
you one.
one person or a
Well,
group of people?
he's the governor, and
Of what?
I
Of
believe
where?
their state senate passed it. So
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody in the comments to say that and everything. Thank you very much. 5,000 Taliban released. I'll bring that up
stay
after
on.
you're
Why
done.
don't you? Yeah, why don't you stay on
Yeah,
subject? How
yeah.
many policies? How about tax cuts for the wealthy? How about that?
Well, it was the poor and middle class that got the biggest tax cuts.
That's untrue. That's
It's
silly
actually
and
very factual
that's not only is it silly, it's untrue.
and very easy to look up and all that.
It is
Well,
Yeah,
very
and
easy.
they're
the
ending in
people that
2025. You
the
understand that,
thing that
right?
people
Trump fooled you by saying you were getting a tax cut that
the biggest
expires.
people.
Hey, your tax cuts, sir, right now are expiring. The middle class tax cuts under Trump are
Oh,
expiring in
oh, so
2025. They're going away,
so
but you know who the tax cuts aren't going away for? The 1% in
exactly. That's the
corporations.
talk.
Theirs
So the
are in
tax cuts are still
perpetuity.
in place for
Theirs are in
the
but
poor and
I'm
middle
just trying to
class.
tell you, sir, you got.
How about the Muslim
So
ban? We could go
the
with the Muslim ban when
well, here,
Trump
let me
banned
respond to that, please.
when okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So the tax cuts for the poor and middle class are still in effect and everything until 2025. I thought you just said he didn't do a tax cut for the poor
That's
and
what
middle
she
No,
class.
just
I
said.
said they're expiring in
Yeah, but you said
2025.
he
So
didn't.
what I'm
It was
saying
for the
is the
rich.
tax
It's for
cuts
the
for the
rich.
1% in corporations are in perpetuity. There's no expiration date. They go on forever, continuing to grow the deficit, right? The deficit is how much money is owed to the government versus how much money we're collecting. The largest part of that deficit is not coming from the middle class. It's not coming from us. We don't need to be taxed more. The largest part of that deficit is coming from the 1% in corporations. We need to do high level forensic audits and levy taxes from the rich. We need to close tax loopholes. We need to stop giving tax cuts. The socialism, all these, you guys love to yell about socialism, that's right now going to the rich. So that's my point
So
is he said he gave
so
you a little tax cut for a couple so you guys could be like, "Oh, this is great." It's going away. It's not going away for the rich.
yeah, but it's still in effect till 2025. You know where they can amend that, extend it, or whatever,
Right
depending on
till
how the
after Trump
economy
has
is.
to be reelected. Do you think that's a little bit ironic?
So he planned on losing in 2020.
No, because it would expire if he had got his second term, it would expire right when he left. And the rich would keep their tax cut. You don't think that was worked into the deal? You don't think the people by the way, if you don't know that the billionaires and these corporations are in when they write every single bill, I don't know what to tell you, but they're like, hey, let's make sure that we keep that tax break, by the way. Like, so Trump, this was 100% for votes, unless you can give me another reason why it would expire on the middle class but not the rich. If this wasn't for votes, I need a different reason why it should be expiring for the middle class.
Because the rich run everything in the country. The rich provide jobs for everybody. I mean, it's just common sense. Do you think a poor person and
Wait, hold
everything
on, but
employs millions of people?
hold on. Why should it expire on the middle class?
Because it's a helping step, just like welfare. You're not supposed to
What's a
live on it.
helping
You're
step?
supposed a helping hand. You're not supposed to live on it. You're supposed to get help. You're supposed to be lifted up out of poverty, off of welfare, stuff like that. You're supposed to go out and get
And
a job and do better.
and since those tax cuts, has the middle class done better or worse?
Before Trump left, we was doing a hell of a lot better.
Not the middle class. The middle class was shrinking.
Actually, people was getting
The middle class buying power was shrinking. It's been shrinking.
Oh no, the buying class was a lot better because more people had money in their pockets and they was spending more. And the government, even though they was claiming less taxes and all that, was actually making more because people was buying more shit. See, when you buy something, you pay taxes on everything.
No, but
So when
no.
people
See,
buy stuff,
you're just saying things that you think happened. But
no,
statistically,
because now we're being
hold
taxed
on.
without
Statistically,
representation.
they're buying. Hold on. Do you need me to pull up like the middle class buying power? Do you need me to pull up those graphs for you?
Go right ahead. You can show me whatever graph you want to show and all
Okay.
that. But the thing about it is,
And
anybody
you
can
won't believe
look
it
around
no
and
matter
see.
what, though, right? There's no chance of you
Well, if
believing
it's
anything
factual and
ever,
all
right?
that, yeah, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's factual, I'll believe it and all that. That's
Well,
the
how do you
whole
determine?
reason.
How do you determine? Before I pull this up, so that we can fact check it. How do you determine if something is factual?
If it's facts,
Well, how do you determine that?
if it's not speculation, hearsay, or what ifs or possibilities or any of that stuff. I mean,
What
that's
does that mean?
speculation.
What does that mean?
Well, this could happen. This might happen, or
Okay.
this did happen.
Okay. So,
Well, just like with the infrastructure bill and all that, everybody's like, "Well, he's helping the country out." That don't even go into effect until what, 2025? 80% of it's locked up and everything until 2025.
and
So
by the
the
way,
infrastructure
I
bill
would
that he
also
passed,
argue. I would also
it's
argue. Oh, go ahead.
like just look up stuff and all that. The
I do look
infrastructure
up
bill.
stuff and all
I
that.
gotta
I'm
say,
just, I'm
okay,
making
as a
facts.
I
historical
meant
research,
generally.
let me talk about
That
how
was
I determine
generally out to
something's fact.
everybody.
Listen,
Yeah, that was just
you can
generally out
read
to
something,
everybody.
right? You can read an article in the media. I like to like what I would call an authoritative source is like a source that has huge fact check, has a history of providing nonpartisan correct information like the New York Times, but I read political commentary across the whole spectrum. But then once you do that and you read something, that's when as a researcher you go to primary sources, right? The media is a secondary source. Then you would look for documents, court documents, public congressional documents, things like that to verify whether or not something's fact. If
And we
that,
all,
I mean, that would be my method is listening to or reading media, watching media on all sides of the political
yeah,
spectrum, and then going to the primary sources.
yeah, and you have to read like 3, 4 different articles and everything, get the whole picture because both sides are biased as hell.
So Cleveland.org ran a study. They looked at data from 1980 up until 2020, and they were comparing middle class incomes and buying power. Right, the buying power of the middle class has dropped for every middle class household except for middle class households that have two incomes. That's it. And obviously, since 1980, when you look at the data, the percentage of people with two incomes went way up. So we now have more people working because they have to, and the only middle class people whose income and buying power has gone up is the middle class income where there are two working adults. That's it. Everybody else's buying power has dropped.
So you're trying to push the whole false thing that more people are employed now than they was under Trump.
That's not even fucking close to anything I'm saying right now at all. I don't know how you even got there. We were talking about the buying power of the middle class and how the buying power of the middle class is evaporating, and then I gave you data showing that, and then you said whatever the fuck you just said.
Yeah, because more people working, that means more people spending. If less people are working, they're spending less. I mean, that's just hand in hand.
If your buying power is less, you can buy less. That's what buying power is. Your
Yeah,
ability to buy something.
and if you don't have a job making a paycheck, you can't buy shit.
But these are the people that have jobs.
I want to let me just try. Let me try for a second. I think that what we need to recognize, the three of us here, is that we are, whether you like it or not, we are all on the same team.
Exactly.
And we
I
have
do agree
to,
with that.
as a country, start recognizing where the money's going. Money is being taken out of circulation, right? Out of access to the middle class. It's being consolidated at the top of the economy. The donor class, the 1%, is keeping it in their bank accounts, not recirculating it into the economy, not trickling it down to us, right? Like Hakeem Jeffries said, you might get a trickle, but you're guaranteed to stay down. Instead of fighting each other, we need to recognize who is robbing us blind. We're all being robbed by the same people.
Actually, and everything, that was kind of false right there. Most people don't just, the rich and everything, the wealthy don't have their money just sitting in a bank account. They got it tied up in assets, businesses,
Okay, we can talk about
properties,
portfolios. That's not what I'm talking
and
about.
that's
My
the
point is
reason
it's
why
not
the
being
taxes.
it's not being reinvested into the economy.
Yeah, that's why they're not being taxed like crazy because they have investments and all that, and they don't get taxed on that unless they sell and make a profit off of it. As we are working every week and getting taxed weekly, their money is their money. They don't get taxed on money that they're holding.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, what kind of economic structure is that when the middle class and the working class are the people responsible for keeping the economy afloat, while the rich, they sit at the top and they collect the profits, and then they invest it in things that make more profits for them. And by the way, investing, like, let's say if you're investing in the stock market, that doesn't necessarily mean more jobs. That doesn't necessarily mean more money in the stock market or in the economy. In fact, most of the time it doesn't, because it's still just sitting there in the stock market. You're now just gambling. And those gambling, the returns aren't going to you and I. The returns aren't going back into the economy. The returns don't go to the mom and pop shop down the street. The returns stay usually in a retirement account if you're somebody like us, where you're just like, man, I hope I can accumulate enough wealth that someday I can stop working. And I really hope the stock market goes well, so someday I can stop working. Meanwhile, the people with all the power and all the information, they know where the stock is going. They invest in that. They collect more net worth. They collect more assets, and then they sit on those assets, whether it's actual cash or it's assets. That those assets were purchased initially by the cash that we put into the economy. So if they take that cash and they hoard it with an asset, that money's not circulating anymore. The federal government put money into our system so that we could buy things and so we could build an economy and so the economy kept building. Anytime you take any of that money out of circulation, it disproportionately affects poor people first, then the middle class. It goes poor, then middle class. And when it affects poor people, and we're talking about people who can't afford groceries, can't afford houses, can't afford school, they can't afford medicine. When it affects them, and we're talking about life or death, then the government is forced to print more money and give it to poor people. And then those poor people take that money and they use it to pay their bills so they can continue to live. And that money trickles right back up to those same fucking rich people, the same ones. And then they use that money not to trickle it back down and give it to their employees and make it so that we can elevate the poor. No, they buy more assets, more stock, more companies. Elon Musk is a perfect example of this. He went to Twitter and said, I'd like to buy Twitter for $44 billion. They're like, cool, we're calling your bluff, you have to buy it. But by the way, where's the cash? He's like, don't worry about the cash. I'm going to use my Tesla stock as collateral. So if I don't pay for it, you can collect on my Tesla stock. They're like, all right, great, we accept your offer. Then he's like, shit, now I've got to come up with $44 billion to give to Twitter because I just bought it. So he went to the bank and he said to the bank, hey, I need $44 billion. Here's my stock as collateral. And they're like, great, here's your $44 billion. Now he owns Twitter. None of that helped me. None of it helped you. None of it helped anybody. That money
So,
is just circulating at the top so they can collect assets. It doesn't trickle down.
so he took a major risk
No,
and
he didn't
risked
really take that much
business.
of. No, it's not that much of a risk. And you know why? Because there's so much protection in between all of these people. There's so much protection with Tesla and with Twitter. The fact that Elon Musk has virtually run Twitter like into bankruptcy, like, and nothing's happening. He's down 60%. Their revenue is down 60%. And he didn't get fired. It didn't affect his income. It didn't affect anybody. It affected nothing. The only thing it has affected is people who were invested in Twitter with their stock. It's dropped their stock price. That's it. That money's just up here at the top, fucking around while these billionaires gamble with each other and try and have a dick measuring competition of who can acquire the most stuff. But it doesn't benefit anybody below them. There is no benefit for what Elon Musk did with Twitter for anybody outside of himself and the people who got paid because they sold him Twitter. It did
Is a
not
paycheck
trickle down.
is a paycheck better than welfare or government handouts?
Um, I don't know. It's not.
So being on welfare is better than having a paycheck.
Well, if we're talking about like what you can do with that money, there's no difference.
Wow, really?
Wait, so if you get $100 from work or you get $100 from welfare, does it spend any differently?
Yeah, because when you're on welfare and all that, you're not being taxed for
No,
one.
does it spend any differently? If you take $100 to Walmart and you got that money from work, or you take $100 to Walmart and you got that money from welfare, does it make any difference to Walmart?
Okay, well we'll go on that route. $100 and all that. Well, what's $100 worth today?
$100,
What was $100 worth and everything like that 4 years ago?
$100.
Really? It was? Because $100 is actually worth less now than it was 4 years ago.
But it's always worth $100. It's what that $100 can do. And now you're talking about buying power, and that's perfect.
Hmm.
That's a great segue. So we had the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of our country post COVID. Post COVID, when we bailed out people who couldn't work and who needed money, the most of that money went to the top, and it stayed there. Now, where Felice and I live in Arizona, those corporations, they use a lot of that money to buy up property. So they went out and they started buying up houses. 30% of new houses or house sales in Arizona went to corporations, which if you live
Yep.
in
That's
Arizona,
world.
I bought
That's
my house.
for
I'm not
US.
there yet. I'm not there yet. I bought my house in 2016 for $385,000. Okay. And that was high. At the time, the realtor was like, it's a little high. It's worth now probably just a little over $1 million.
Yep.
I didn't do anything, but the corporations came and they drove up the price. And so that prices people out of being able to buy a home, and it turns them into renters. And that's what these corporations want. They want renters. They want to own the property, so you funnel your money to them and that money all goes up to the top. So the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of our country happened during COVID, and it gave us a perfect example of how very broken our system is, that when we desperately needed to help people who needed the money the most, the people who benefited the most were the rich. Even though we gave the money directly to the people who needed it, we didn't just give it to the rich. Now we did in forms of other loans, but I'm talking about direct payments, giving direct payments to people who were in need. The the people who benefited the most were the rich. Our system's broken, dude. All the money goes to the top and it just chills there.
And it's not true though. That's just the crap that
It
they tell you and all that for you
no,
all to
dude. This
beg
is
and
these are
plead for more
statistics.
taxes.
No, these are statistics.
They've
So
literally,
if you look
yeah,
if you
they've
look at
literally,
pre Ronald Reagan, we had very high tax rates, and those very high tax rates for rich people gave them a choice. It gave them the choice of two things. They could either pay the money to the government for taxes, or they could pay that money to their employees and elevate their employees. They were incentivized to either pay the government or pay their employees. So they paid the employees. And Ronald Reagan came in with this idea that sounded great. He's like, hey, you know what? You're Americans. We're going to trust Americans to do the right thing. We're going to lower your taxes so that everybody gets more money, and that money will trickle down through the entire economy. Well, we now have 50 years of data, 50 years of data almost on what Ronald Reagan put in. And what we found out is during those 50 years, the middle class got smaller, the poor got poorer, and the rich got markedly more rich. The gap between the middle class and the rich has never been bigger. But what you're being sold is this idea that what Ronald Reagan said was right, and you're ignoring all the data. All the data that says ever since Ronald Reagan and trickle down economics was introduced into our country, the middle class's buying power got less, the poor got more poor, and the rich got so much more rich, like so much more rich. And you're hiding behind this idea that, like, oh, well, they create jobs. But what they actually did is they have eliminated small business owners. Small business ownership is at lower levels now, and small businesses succeeding are at a much lower rate than they used to because they can't compete with Walmart. They can't compete with Amazon. They can't compete with Jiffy Lube. They can't compete with McDonald's. They can't compete with these mega corporations because they need more margins. These mega corporations can operate on smaller margins because they have so much.
They
So
now can
price
I
it is.
any
respond to that?
business out of the market. So
So
any
Now
it
can
is.
I actually,
Yeah, go
now
ahead,
can I actually respond to that?
please.
Yeah, the biggest attack on small businesses was during COVID on dim lockdowns where big businesses were deemed essential while small businesses and all that
Oh,
had
do
to
you mean when
shut
Trump shut the
down.
country down? Are you talking
Oh,
about when
really?
Donald Trump
Really?
is that
Really?
what we want to talk about when Donald Trump shut the country down? Because I would love to talk about the Republican lockdown
Oh,
that you're talking
yeah,
about. I just want
that's
to get
right.
I just want to be factually correct that Donald Trump shut the country down.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you just got to spew and throw out misinformation and propaganda. So
Felice,
Trump was
Felice,
president.
did we have lockdowns in Arizona?
No, So
Did we have businesses, restaurants, small businesses, small grocery stores? Did those close in Arizona?
did
No.
Florida? Did Ohio?
Yes.
We had for like
For
2
like a
months
hot
roughly.
second. A hot
Yeah,
second.
and our governor at the time was from what party?
You talking about Doug Ducey?
Talking about Doug Ducey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God
And
bless him. Bless him.
our
Bless
state
Doug.
legislature,
He's gone now. Republican.
our state legislature, Republican. Where I live in the East Valley, totally controlled by Republicans. They killed small businesses, and it's interesting. The same people whose businesses got shut down, like I have friends who their business shut down and they lost their business. They still blame Democrats, despite the fact that they lived in a state controlled by Republicans and a city controlled by Republicans, and every law that shut them down, every rule that shut them down was implemented by a Republican. But they've been so brainwashed to believe that their party is the party of freedom and the party that would never do that, that they don't even realize that, like, they'll blame Joe Biden, who wasn't even in office, but it was Republicans who did this.
So let's just hold on. Wait, before you respond, let's let that soak in, everyone. Here we go. Everyone, we're retaining some information this morning. The Republicans shut the country down. Donald Trump shut your country down. In our state, Donald Trump or Republicans shut Arizona down. It wasn't the Democrats.
I hope you're getting paid good, Felice, for spreading misinformation. I really do.
Master G pays me well.
It's so stupid. Like, what do you mean misinformation? I just explained to you who was in charge and what happened, and you're calling it misinformation because you don't like it? Is that your new thing? Like, you just, if you don't like information, it's misinformation? Doug Ducey, Republican, was the fucking governor. Our legislature, all Republican, like, Republican controlled. I live in the East Valley in Mesa. It's like 90% Republican. Andy Biggs wins with like 70% of the vote, and he's a moron.
Is he your rep?
Yeah, Andy Biggs is my rep, and he's a moron. He wins with like 70%. Mesa, our mayor in Mesa, where I was at, his campaign slogan, do you want to know what it was? I support Donald Trump. That was his actual campaign slogan, and he won overwhelmingly. And he's the one that shut everything down. So what are you calling misinformation right now?
So he shut the whole country down.
No, because the country wasn't shut down. It happens on local levels. So,
exactly. So you can't blame Trump for it. Thank you very much for finally getting to the point that I was getting at.
Well, we can blame Republicans.
The point was that you said
you can't blame
that
Republicans.
Was my response. You made the claim. You made the claim that Joe Biden and the Democrats shut the country down, and now we are presenting you with evidence that that claim is false. That's what's happening.
Yeah, a lot of the Democrat places and all that shut down. A lot of Republican places.
I live in a place completely controlled by Republicans where the mayor ran on, I support Donald Trump. What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
And
the city council is almost entirely Republican. They shut it down. They did.
Shortly. You said shortly. Because facts matter.
It's like everyone. No, it doesn't.
Those are the facts we gave you.
We're not talking about the length of time because what we're not debating is the damage to the economy, right? I mean, the pandemic hurt the economy. Nobody is debating those facts. But what we are just saying is, in good faith, right? And we're having a good conversation. We followed each other. Hopefully, we can continue this conversation in good faith. We don't want to spread misinformation. The facts are that Donald Trump was president when the country shut down, and state by state, Republicans in our state that we are living in. I also live in a district that's Republican controlled, and our state was shut down by Republicans.
So your state is controlled by Republicans, and it was shut down temporarily.
We have a Democratic governor now. Well, we have Carrie Lake; she's our shadow governor. But we have a Democratic governor now, but yes, our legislature is still Republican controlled. Our state, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, Republican controlled. We have a civil war going on within the Republican Party, as you might know, between what they call the establishment and the far right. But our state is still very much Republican controlled.
Yeah, because I can't comment for other states and all that, but Ohio, I heard of all the horror stories that was going on around the country. I never seen any of that. We didn't see mass shutdown.
You're in Ohio? Is that what you said? Yeah, you have a Republican supermajority, and Ohio was shut down. But let's be honest about what happened.
I did not see it where I was and everything like that. We was forced to wear some mask and everything, some places, but it was normally by choice and all that. They was handing it out, but they didn't enforce it.
The
and
main
make
point is
people.
that the main point we got away from here is that the transfer of wealth. Everybody was hurt by COVID except for the rich. They got richer. That's a bad system. What politics aside, when our country is in its worst state, where millions of people are hurting, do you think it's a good system that during that time, the people who aren't hurting, the people who will never hurt for anything, get richer?
And see, that's the typical response and everything I get from people, that they want to take from those
No, 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 no,
and
no,
give
no,
to
no,
others.
no, 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 no. I need you to answer the question. Is it a good system that when we are at our worst, the rich get richer? Is that a good system?
If they do the things to make the money, yeah.
But what they
Everybody
do,
has the option to do
wait,
it. Why
no.
don't more people
All
get off
right.
their ass and
So,
make
okay,
money?
well, keep bootlicking for the rich while they stomp all over you.
It
They don't
ain't
give a shit
bootlicking
about
That
for
you,
is
them,
the
dude.
because
most
guess
Which is
what?
dangerous thing that
crazy.
It's not
capitalism and
bootlicking, because plain
the
and simple.
Republican Party are doing to you is convincing that you're an individual. You can pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
No,
It
because I
could be
have
you
comments,
too. What I'm telling you is
and I get interrupted again.
statistically, it cannot be you. You are not special. American exceptionalism is poisoning everybody. We need to think
Really.
collectively. What's best for us collectively?
So
Right? Our
nobody has the
individualism
option.
saying, I will step on everyone else, and I believe delusionally that statistically I too can rise up and be in control of a company like Amazon is delusional. We will stay down until we get smart and start
Wow, and
operating as a
you use
collective.
Amazon as a talking point. You do realize the guy that created Amazon started it in his garage with a laptop, right?
Yeah,
You just
That
completely
and he
destroyed
lived off
the
of other
BS.
people's money and government subsidies. He didn't make a profit for 20 years. He
Yes,
didn't make a profit for 20 years. He lived off of other people's money
yes,
and
busted his ass
government
and created
subsidies.
something. So you want to take that ability away from
Yes.
people
Yes.
and
Yes.
punish them
Yes.
if they actually create something.
Let me
No,
tell you
That
what.
now
Look,
employs.
I could go into how Amazon is hurting our economy, but the main reason is you seem like a small business supporter. What you need to understand is that Amazon, a private corporation who's taking huge chunks of privatized profit, that all profit belongs to all of us as people. We're being robbed. But what I'm telling you is anyone wanting to create a business, I support small business. Amazon is now the gateway, Amazon and Google. If they want to turn you off, if they don't want your product found, you're done. If they want to absorb your company and they make you an offer and you refuse it, your product will no longer be found on the internet.
if they like your product and it's profitable and they can make it themselves, they'll steal your design and they'll make it and they'll call it Amazon Basics. There has
Yeah,
never
that's
been a company in the history of this country that has hurt small business. There's nothing. No act, no act of God, no law. There has never been anything that has crippled small business more than Amazon's existence.
that's literally every business. You know
No,
that,
it's
right?
literally one business. It's Amazon. It's one fucking business
And
that
Walmart.
has done this. They're the only ones who have ever done what Amazon is doing. And if you disagree with me, tell me the other company that's like Amazon.
Okay, so a little small mom and pop shop opens up in the middle of nowhere and all that, and then all of a sudden you get three other
Well,
businesses that are in a
what are they
chain
making?
that
Let's be
put
more
up.
specific. What's the mom and pop shop
Well, let's
doing?
say gas station, grocery store,
Okay.
little shop, and all that, and then three other companies come in and put up crap all around them to starve them out and get them out and all that. Every business does that.
Yeah, you're describing Walmart.
Well, no, not out in the middle of nowhere. I'm
Well,
just talking about, little stores. Everybody does it. I mean, they
Okay,
drive
but
out
let
businesses
me just
all the
present something
time.
to you.
They will
So
literally lose
but
money and all
listen,
that to
this
try
is not
to.
about Republican and Democrat. I want you to think about how people are buying now. Brick and mortar is going away. That's useless overhead cost now. People aren't going into stores to buy things. All purchasing decisions are now happening online. So that's why when Amazon is controlling search results, it's no longer go into mom and pop grocery store and okay, maybe someone's paying for the shelf space that's right in front of my eyes, but if I look low and I look high, I can still see the other products. Now everything is being bought online, and Amazon and Google are controlling what you can find. I have this is a weird example, but I'm just going to say it. Like Walmart, I still remember, my background is in advertising in the tech industry. I remember when when Walmart bought this huge complex, I think it's in San Bruno, somewhere south of San Francisco, and started building an internet exchange to compete with what Amazon was doing. I purchase groceries online. I have them delivered to my house. So I noticed this certain
Well, why
salad
don't you
dressing I like
support
is
small
gone from
businesses?
search. You cannot find it because ConAgra, right? Who, if you know, is part of the grocery cartel, the grocery lobby in government, who controls all the products we eat, has bought all of the space, all of the search results, and they are paying to have other people's products erased from search. You can't find them to buy them online. We all are moving to online. Brick and mortar will no longer be a thing. It's unnecessary overhead. So that's what I
So
want
why
you to understand is we are giving control to a privatized corporation.
So why does people do that and all that? Why don't you support small businesses and go directly to the small business and buy it? Why are you buying all your stuff online?
Well, we try to
So
do
you're
that.
just
You
as
can
bad
look
as
right
the
now,
big business.
raw truth. If you look right now at my stream, if you look, there's two options to buy things. You can buy some coffee, or you can buy this beautiful hoodie that I'm wearing. Both of them are small businesses. Both of them are not advertising on Amazon. I'm literally right now while we're talking supporting small business. I'm advertising for them. The people can get a discounted price. These are small businesses who don't have the overhead or the capital to go on Amazon and get on their top levels of search. What do you do for work?
Oh, I actually did manufacturing.
Manufacturing. Okay, what kind of
Yeah,
manufacturing?
Honda
Okay, so
vehicle.
you
Fast
worked for
paced.
Honda.
Yeah, fast paced assembly line. Shit sucked.
Okay, now do you think anybody else could just like start a business like yours, like a Honda? Think you could start? You think just anybody could start Honda right now?
Oh, with what I learned from working there and all that, yeah, I probably could build a car.
Not build a car, start a business like Honda. Like, could you be an auto manufacturer?
Now, if you had the capital to do it, yeah.
What kind of capital would you need?
For a place like that, what, 300 million?
2 or 300 million. Now, where are you going to get that capital?
You either have it
Okay.
or you put stuff up to get a loan for it.
Okay. Now, let's say you. Now, do you have $2 or $300 million worth of assets that you can loan against?
Hell no.
Hell no, right? So you're gonna need somebody to invest in you, right?
Exactly.
Who do you think would
And
oppose? Who do you think? Let's say you want to do it in the same wherever you live. You're in Ohio, so that you got the same manufacturing plant there. Do you think Honda would be okay with you building? Do you think they would like that you were building a plant there?
hell no, they wouldn't. They
Hell
would
no,
stop you and
and
all that, just like I
they would
said.
stop you, right? They would go through the government and they would stop you. But let's just say you're super persuasive, and you wind up getting that manufacturing plant, right? And
Yep.
you can do all that. Well, now you've got it up and running. You've got to hire employees, and now you need profit in order to keep that going, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, now Honda says, shit, this person's they might cut into our business, so I'm going to go to every one of their employees and I'm going to offer them $5 more per hour, and I'm going to offer maybe a little bit better benefits. Suddenly, you lose your employees. They can do that. They can bleed you dry. They can shut you down because they have capital and they can afford to take
Yep.
a little hit like that for a while to shut you down. That's what Walmart
And they
did.
do it all the time.
That's where I grew up. That's what Walmart did. Walmart came in, got government subsidies, city subsidies, saying we're going to bring all these jobs to your town. And our town, Republican, was like, hell yeah, we love jobs. What they didn't see is that Allen's, our grocery store, was shut down. Dave's, the other grocery store, shut down. Verd's, a little market that had been there for like 30 years on the side of the road that sold like fresh produce, shut down. Jack's Tire and Oil, shut down. There was a Tomlinson Tire and Oil, shut down. Walmart's existence in the grocery and then because they had a tire and oil center shut down all of these businesses. And these business owners who were making a good living and paying a good wage suddenly didn't have businesses, and the people that worked for them went to Walmart and worked for lower wages.
So literally and all that, you just made the point, the big point, what the problem with Democrats and all that, because you guys are all against small businesses.
This was
Because
literally
all I
this.
hear,
Wait, hold on, hold on.
well,
Remember
here, let
this?
me finish.
This
I want to
happened.
finish
No,
one
no,
thought
that's not the
without being
argument I made.
interrupted.
This was in a Republican town with a
I'd like to be
Republican
able to.
city council and a Republican mayor. We've never had a Democrat as mayor or even on the city council.
Yes,
Zero Democrats ever. They
I know you
gave
wanted
a
to.
tax break to Walmart, allowed Walmart to come in, and Walmart decimated these businesses. And these business owners, every one of them was a Republican. Every single person there was a Republican. This is Republican on Republican crime that's happening. And the only person that benefited? Walmart. The town didn't benefit. The city didn't benefit. The employees didn't benefit. But Walmart sure as shit benefited.
Now, can I finish what I was saying
Please.
and all that?
Please.
Literally and all that. The number one thing that I hear from Democrats all the time and everything is tax the rich, make them pay their fair share and all that, blah, 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 blah. Make a livable wage. Well, you literally just proved the point and all that. People are paid livable wage and all that. Who's that screw? The small businesses, because you literally just said that.
No, the small businesses were paying a living wage. The small businesses were paying a living wage.
But
Walmart came in and undercut them and charged lower prices, and it
and
shut
paid their
down all
employees
these
more.
businesses because Walmart has enough capital that they could undersell all of these services. Those companies didn't go out of business because of how much they were paying workers. They went out of business because nobody was
Now you're
coming
gonna
to
flip it.
because nobody was
Now
coming
you're
into their
gonna flip
store to
it.
buy
Okay.
things anymore. They lost profit. They
Now,
couldn't sell anything anymore. That's what happened.
now you're gonna flip it. Okay.
That's what I was saying the whole time.
They
What are you
came
talking
in and
about?
paid $5 more an hour and all that, and stole all the employees away from the small
No, 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 no,
businesses.
no, no. Now
They
you're
paid them
mixing.
a
No, wait,
livable wage. Damn
Raw.
it!
Hold on, hold
Damn
on,
the big businesses.
hold on. Raw truth. That was me talking about your hypothetical business
Yeah,
and then paying $5 more. Then I gave you a different example of my
but they do it.
hometown and a different way that corporations can hurt small businesses. There are many ways corporations can hurt small businesses. What I did is give you two different examples. One way they can do it is by offering more money to steal your employees, or they can come in and they can undercut your prices. They can do either. But in both scenarios, the only people that benefit are the corporation, not the small business, not the people who live in the city. The beneficiary is this giant fucking corporation. It's the only people that benefit. In both
Yeah, because they
scenarios,
have.
I gave you two different ways they can do it.
Yeah, because they have the capital and they have the money backing and all that to be able to
Right.
do a lot more than small businesses and all that, and they do that all the time. I actually did mention that a little small mom and pop set up a shop here, and then you get four other businesses that put businesses around them with the same crap and everything like that, and completely drive them out. You
That
have the
and
same thing with glasses and all that. There's literally one company that controls all glasses, sunglasses,
Luxottica.
prescription glasses,
It's
everything,
Luxottica. They're my old client.
and
They're
they
from
are
Cincinnati,
vicious.
Ohio. So you
They
do
are
know something about
vicious. Yes,
something.
they are vicious when anybody else tries to get in the market.
Yeah, Luxottica, if you don't know what
yeah.
Luxottica is, they have a monopoly on putting glasses on your face.
My dad had
They
a
own Ray-Bans, they own Oakley, they own every single vision company like Vision Works, Lens Crafters, all of that is owned by one company.
Hmm. Yeah, that's crazy,
All right.
and that's how
Well,
they
I,
can
I do
control
have
the
people
price.
waiting in the I do have people waiting in the box. I actually appreciate the discussion though, and I followed you as
Hey,
well.
no
Let's
problem.
do it again sometime, brother.
Yeah, like I said,
Yes.
I've been on your live stream before and everything like that. That's why I like to join and all that. I know you're always usually looking for some opposition, so
Yes,
it's all
please
you
come
on.
back. We
Please
So
do.
it's
appreciate
all
it.
you on. Yeah, I threw you a follow too, Felice.
Great, me too.
Ah, brother.
All
Friends
right.
forever.
Prince for
Yeah.
back.
Hey,
Yeah,
like
facts.
and the big point you all said and everything, we are all in this together.
Yeah.
So have a good one.
You too, bro. All right. Jen, did you? I don't know if Jen vetted these. I know who it is. Let's go. Lightspeed. He's not invited to the cult.
What's up?
Hey, welcome.
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? So I'm in Arizona also. I feel like it's a little pertinent to give this is a tad bit of history. So I'm in the restaurant business. I've been in the restaurant business on the distribution side, I should say, not the restaurant business, for like the last 25 years. Or I was until like a year and a half ago. But you were talking about the government shutting down, the Republicans shutting down the restaurants. And, I feel like it's a little disingenuous because while that is true in the sense of that, yeah, Republican controlled state shut the restaurants down. Um, it's not. I mean, we were also the last to do it. I mean, the Ducey went longer than just about anybody else to try to keep the restaurants open as long as possible. And when it was evident that the vaccines weren't, what we thought they were, I think only then did he finally feel enough pressure to do it. So
No, you got that timeline wrong. The vaccine wasn't out yet.
well, that was in March of 2021. It was March 15th, right? Is when the federal thing came down saying that there was going to be mandates, right? Was it March 15th
What are you
of
talking
2020?
about? Mandates for
Well,
what?
that's when the pandemic started, right? March 15th of 2020.
Okay, but now you're saying 2021. I'm just confused what you're saying. What mandate are you talking about?
Well, the mask mandates, the 6 foot rule, the where the restaurants were closing, right? Our restaurants were open far past. So the company that I worked for also existed in Oregon and Washington, and they were closed. Like they started closing restaurants in like I think June and July, or maybe even sooner than that. We didn't start closing. We didn't see restaurants here closing locally until I think almost December, to be honest with you. So, and again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you. Yeah, Republican.
Well, I'll agree with you while RGP is doing some research.
Well,
whatever
I was just trying to find the date. It was March 19th.
Yeah,
Okay,
you sound like a sane
2020.
individual who wants
Yeah.
to have a good faith conversation. I love this.
Felice,
for
let me
us.
tell you something. So I was raised by a single mom, right, with 3 kids. We were raised on welfare. I moved out when I was 15, and as of 2 years ago, now I've lost my job since then, and my perspective has changed a lot. And I'm a little conflicted, to be completely honest with you. I worked for a major company. I was making 300 and some $1,000 a
You
year.
sound just like me.
And things were
exactly-
going great. And then until I thought this company was my family until they weren't, right? And then
You are literally quoting things that I've said. When you learn that lesson that corporate America, you know what I mean? You think people are your friends and family, that's going to be like your life. And then when you learn the lesson that that's not the case, it's jarring, right? I disappeared into South America when I left corporate America.
At the 11th of this month will be 2 years ago, and I mean these people were at my wedding, right? They were there when my kids were born, right? And then just one day, it was like none of that mattered, and so I've been pursuing my passion the last 2 years. So I'm a little conflicted, right? Like I had a health little thing a couple months ago. I don't have health insurance. I'm kind of getting the view from the underside of everything else. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are very wrong with this country that I didn't realize probably. But I consider myself a moderate or in the middle, but I still lean right when it comes to like guns and taxes. I don't agree with like the 90% rule. And, I don't want to vote for Trump, but I don't want to vote for Biden either. And it's a shitty situation we're in, to be honest with you. We have to pick the lesser of two evils, and I sitting here today, I don't know what I'm going to do. Honestly.
And your vote matters. You're in Arizona. We're going to probably
Yeah.
decide the election. So you have a decision
True.
to make, sir. Going back to what you were talking about COVID, since this is a good faith discussion, like I want to, in good faith, I am not arguing when I was harping on the Donald Trump shut the government down. That comes my insistence on that point, and that Republican controlled state legislatures shut businesses down comes from the MAGA talking point that it was Joe Biden. I'm just making the point that this is not actually the case. However, we had a pandemic. I support the public health. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I'm a reasonable person who's very into evidence-based science. We had to shut businesses down. We had millions of people losing their lives. In Arizona, the hospital crisis, the surge on hospitals. I mean, we were stacking bodies in cooling trucks. What happened in Arizona was terrifying. But I also see I support small business. So what is the answer to we're bankrupting small business owners. And as RTP beautifully made the point that was not actually, I think, received by the person who was hearing it, was that, yeah, small businesses weren't the ones getting the PPP. You know what I'm saying? Like, this
Yeah.
money was consolidated at the top of the economy with the rich, right?
Well, and
And
I think the thing that in hindsight, when I look back on it, that bothers me the most is, I remember on March 15th or 19th or whatever Jay said, I
Yeah,
remember being
19th.
on a conference call with the owner of the company, right? And he's like, "Hey, the world's melting down, right? What are you going to do?" Right? And so we were all making plans to kind of figure it out. And really, it was used as an opportunity to uh, to thin the fat, right? To make a lot of tons of companies, corporations. It was a free for all to change your business strategy, to trim the fat, get people, and they had record years that year, right? It wasn't just Amazon. Pretty much everybody that could weather the storm had a really good year that year, and I don't know that that's the company owner's fault, or I mean, what could they do? All right, you couldn't, you either had to make a bunch of provisions, but for us, like all the restaurants shut down. So, I mean, we went down 90% in sales like overnight, and it was like that for a really long time. Retail was doing good, but we didn't do retail. So, it was and I worked through the whole pandemic. I didn't even have I mean, I bought a Tesla in 2021 or the summer of 2020. I mean, so again, like I said, my perceptions changed a lot, and man, I really want a candidate to like show his head and say like, somewhere down the middle, but I just, it's just hard because it's like I
well,
don't think
I
Joe
just
Biden's a good
think,
leader.
can I just say something though? Like, as somebody, who some people on this app are calling a communist.
Me,
Which is not
it's
actually,
me.
yeah, it's
I'm
him.
I'm the people on this app calling
I'm
her a
farther
communist.
left than
I called you a
RTP.
communist,
You're
and
talking to a moderate, right? RTP is probably a moderate. Jay's a moderate. Okay, so I'm here to spread the good news to you, sir. Oh, by the way, I followed you. That Joe Biden is a neo-lib. There's no more. I would say the way the Overton windows move, Biden is a Republican. He's a moderate Republican. So, who's allied with establishment Republicans like Mitch McConnell?
he's a bad dude too, though, right? Like I mean,
Well, who's not?
I know, but that's the problem, right? Is like they're all bad dudes at the end of the day. Trump, when Trump got into office, or when Trump ran the first time, I mean, I think all of us were like, I hope he drains the swamp and gets rid of all this corruption that exists, because it's like Joe Biden is literally, he pivots to whatever the crisis is of the day to get his votes, right? If you follow him all the way back to the 80s, I mean, the guy will lie to your face about just about anything to get a vote. And I know Jay, I know you guys aren't big supporters of him either, but it's like what is preventing somewhere like a 30, 39 through 49, 59-year-old common sense based person to run for president? I don't understand why it's always got to be these, you know, drastic right leaning or left leaning, or guys that are 80 some years old. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But
Well,
um,
I can tell you for me, like me personally, it's not to like toot a horn or anything like that. Like, I've considered running for office, and I've had people approach me about running for office, but like, why would I subject myself and my family to this political environment? I've got a 3-year old. If I was single, yeah, maybe, but like, this is a tricky environment. Like, we've created a culture where you kind of have to be crazy to want to
yeah,
run for office right now.
but aren't you
That's the
anyways though?
scariest part.
Aren't you
Crazy, yeah.
anyways? I
Yeah.
mean, no, I mean that sincerely. By
That's
doing,
fair.
what's funny is I follow. Again, I consider myself more of a Republican than a Democrat, but I find myself like listening to you guys all day long, and I started watching Whisper, right?
Yeah.
And I nicknamed him the Dollar Tree RTP. But anyways,
Suck it, Whisper.
but hey, but you know what's
You
funny
heard it here, folks. You've heard it
is
here first, and I'm
is
sure we'll hear it in the Discord for all
is
eternity.
is one day I was giving him shit in the comments, and then he goes, "Hey, bro, why are you saying that?" And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, I followed you. I followed you for a long time." I was like, "Oh shit, I'm friends with him."
That's
but
funny.
I see what's happening with him, right? The threats. I mean, last night somebody like openly threatened him, and
Yeah,
it's
me
like,
too. I was there for
you
that.
know, and I have
The
kids, and
Proud
I'm
Boy.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Who?
And
What happened? Can you tell for the
there was
audience?
like a legit Proud Boy, like a for real one. He had all of his tattoos and his videos, and he's straight up saying like, "I'm gonna come and find you and kill you,"
Yeah.
basically. Like, I
It was
mean,
wild.
it was wild.
Discord found his actual. It was a bad.
Maybe we'll
bad
do a
vid.
live and read my
Yeah.
DMs sometime.
I
That's
bet they're crazy. I bet they're
terrifying.
crazy. But I'm a big 2A guy, and so I don't fit in with the right leaning people either, because I believe, like I believe in trans rights and all that stuff. Like I'm not like a big advocate. I
You're
don't
a
see any
leftist.
reason.
You sound like a leftist. You just
I just don't
haven't
see any
figured it
reason
out
why
yet.
people
Many
can't.
leftists are pro 2A. You know what I mean? Like, you can be pro worker, pro union. Like, many leftists are pro 2A.
I am
And
not pro
I would say the
union.
farther
So.
left you go, like if you talk to Nemo, then yeah, you get your weapons back for sure.
Yeah,
My argument. I've made the argument many times that if we want to protect the Second Amendment, like institute universal health care. That's my argument for the Second Amendment.
That should be
Yeah,
the argument.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm a big 2A guy, and
So
I
was
believe
Karl
in.
Marx. I don't know if you know this about Karl Marx.
I
Marx
didn't, but
was a big 2A guy.
I rarely decide to come on here because it's like I feel like I'm not as versed in like all the stuff as you guys are. Even though I listen to, I work from home now, and so I run a 3D printing business out of my house, and so like I listen to you guys in the background all day long. I just switch from live to live, but some of the stuff I think is still a little over the top. But like I don't believe in the 90% tax rule and all that. That stuff seems, I mean, as somebody, again, I was a 15-year-old, runaway from home, and, I did pull myself up by the bootstraps. I am one of those people that went from dropping out of high school to making, almost $400,000 last year that I worked. You know what I mean? Like it can happen, and I don't think anybody gave me a boost, or I didn't have any family support system or daddy's money or
But yeah,
that
either
kind of
did
stuff.
I. Either did I. I'm the same way as you. I got a college scholarship for volleyball. Like, I mean, same story. I literally, your story is so similar to my story. But the problem is you're a microcosm, right? When you at university, you take what you call macroeconomics, right?
Sure.
And our government is supposed to do is protect us, is preserve help the commonwealth, right? Ensure the commonwealth of the people. And so those are minimum things. Your healthcare for you or your children should not be tied to your job, right? And we've talked about this, but I would make the argument, in order to support capitalism and for it to succeed, the workforce has to be healthy, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we allow people to go to the doctor so they can then work and
So,
support
so
our capitalistic economy?
let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. So I was a hard right-leaning guy, business conservative. My business was based on being a conservative. Like there wasn't a choice. Like they basically required it of you.
What
But
were you doing?
I was a food distributor.
Oh,
But
this was. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about a different job. Sorry.
no, no. So I worked for a food distribution company, and they were a fantastic company. They really were. But family owned and operated, really good people. Again, I feel a little slighted by them in the end of days, but it is what it is. But I always had great health insurance and great 401k and all that kind of stuff. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, I met this woman at a restaurant, and I married her 2 months later. Right, I was feeling a little giddy, and we went to Vegas and got married. And she's a Mexican national, right? She's only been here for a couple years or whatever. Here on a visa, not illegal technically, but here on a visa. And you want to talk about something that's changed my perception is that, like, we go to Mexico, 2, 3 times a month to see her family. Her family lives in Sonora, and I've basically done all my
I'm
healthcare
from
there now.
Sonora.
Are you?
My grandmother's Yaqui Indian. I'm Mexican indigenous from
Oh yeah,
Sonora. Yeah.
Yakasita, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we go to Mexico all the time now because like I had a health scare a couple weeks ago, and I went to an emergency room, and it was $7,000 for one night, and I've never experienced this as a civilian, right? I've never not had health insurance, and I was like, how do people with less? I mean, it would bankrupt you, right? Like in most people's case, that would bankrupt them. So
Isn't
we
that the
we
most common form of bankruptcy is medical bank? It's one of
Oh,
the
I'm
medical
I'm sure because,
bankruptcy.
by the way, they are vicious, right? They will
It's
attack your
number
bank
one
accounts. They
by a
will
long
attack your
ways.
they will garnish your bank accounts. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So we started going to Mexico, and I learned something about Mexico is like Mexico's freaking awesome, guys. Like most Mexicans, they don't want to come here because
Rising people out
Mexico,
of poverty was socialism. Mexico
like,
is it. They just nationalized what's that huge deposit they found? of some natural resource and they just nationalized it and it's
Yeah,
going to be
like
used
silver or gold,
to
right? I
increase
mean,
literacy. It's not
What?
silver. It's something. Is it? It's something I can't
yeah,
remember.
they found like a natural resource that's like
A
huge,
huge.
but you know what's funny is
And
people
that's why we're now sanctioning Mexico. Do you know that? Mitch McConnell wanted that to be privatized and for American corporations to benefit off of Mexico's natural resources. And Mexico said, no, we're going to naturalize this and we're going to use it to raise people out of poverty. Yeah,
But by the way,
Mexico's doing amazing right now.
just to throw this out there too, there's a healthcare company that made national news, and now many are doing this. Our healthcare system is so fucked up that there are many healthcare companies now that will pay for your flight and your entrance into Mexico to go pick up your prescription drug. We're talking just prescription drugs. That's how bad our healthcare system is. And they said, I watched the interview from the owner. He just said, like, it's actually cheaper for us to fly somebody to Mexico, pay for them to get their drugs, and fly them back than it is just to pay for the drugs.
Yeah,
Well,
and
let
it's
me tell you,
lithium. Just to clarify, thank you in the comments. It's
yeah,
Eric. It's
lithium.
lithium that was
Oh yeah, yeah.
that was
So
nationalized.
let me tell you something that happened. This is like, so I'm out of work, right? I'm trying to. My wife's encouraging me to chase my dreams of having a 3D printing design business and all this stuff, right? So I do design and I do printing. Anyways, long story short, she starts getting sick every day, starts throwing up every day. We can't figure it out. So I paid to take her to a doctor here. They basically say, hey, your gallbladder is ready to explode. Like it's got to come out, right? So she suffers with this for 2 or 3 months. Finally, I'm like, I don't care what I got to do, if I got to put on a credit card, whatever. So I get a quote, right? And it's $36,000 for the surgery, right? And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And my wife keeps telling me in the back, hey, let's go to Mexico. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want you to go to you know, some nasty hospital in Mexico or whatever. Anyways, long story short, we end up going to Mexico. And I'm talking top tier, dude. Top tier, like absolutely beautiful hospitals, round the clock care. She was there for 7 days. Guess how much that cost me? $3,500. And guess how I paid it? Via PayPal. I paid the doctor via PayPal. Like it is absolute. Their healthcare
I
system
used
down
to
there
get
is
dentistry
awesome.
done in Mexico. Yeah,
And
I
Wait,
understand
it's
what
why?
you're saying.
I don't mean to
top
criticize you.
notch.
Why didn't you
Yep.
just 3D print a new gallbladder?
Yeah,
You just,
but
it would have been
you
way
ought to see her
easier.
you ought to see her gallstones. They look 3D printed. But when I went down there, so we went down there, we got the surgery, and everything was great, and it was fine. And I paid the guy over PayPal. And long story short, the dentistry, top tier. I mean, super clean, super high tech. And what it made me realize is I was on this stream. I think it was this stream. Somebody made a comment about, hey, go to Nogales, go to the border town and see what Mexico looks like if you think it's so great, right? And it's true. The border towns look horrible. Like they're absolute. They look like they're from those videos you would see about Ethiopia back in the 90s, right? And people are living in shacks and sheds. But beyond that, like northern Sonora, Mexico, it looks like Napa Valley. It looks like Sonoma Valley in Northern California. Beautiful grapevines and beautiful roads, and the people are awesome. And the truth is Mexicans don't want to come here. Like they really don't. They only come here as like a last resort, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my mom.
Um,
My mom moved. She lives in Mexico most of the time. She lives in Seattle. She bought a house in Mexico. She's down there all the time. But
right.
the reason those border towns look bad, just so people understand, is because their economy is entirely dependent on like single day visitors who come to get like the cheapest possible thing they can. So
Yeah.
you're not going to drive a bunch of money into that economy. So there's nothing there supporting the people outside of like retail, restaurants. In Nogales, you have like strip clubs where they're a little more loose with the rules. And it's just basically people coming down to get medications. And now the United States has been a little more strict about what medications you can get, and that has dried up those economies even more.
Well, and it's a true statement that like, the cartels are down there. It can be dangerous, but generally speaking, they want to paint this picture that it's so dangerous and it's this and that. Mexican cartels, I've interacted with a few of them over the years. They do not want to mess with Americans. They just don't want to mess with
Well, that's
tourists,
an agreement. You know
you know?
why, right? There are zones, they're literally called vacation tourism zones, that the
Right,
cartels have agreed with the Mexican government are off limits. That's why the
right.
rare times you see the cartels with, weapons or whatever around resorts, like something insane is going down because there is an agreement to leave American tourists alone.
But when you go down to like Hermosillo, you
Sure.
you got to drive right through several heavy cartel towns, and when you're driving through in a Tesla, it's like everybody told me, "Oh my God, they're going to kidnap you. They're going to this, they're that." Listen, I've had nothing but great experiences. Mexican people have been fantastic. You don't see homelessness down there. Everybody's trying to make a buck.
Well, it's
And,
communal
you know,
still. I
it
think
is
that that's
communal.
like the way that, like, as someone who's indigenous Mexican, like the individualism of America, like it's me, I'm out for myself and no one else. This is not the mindset of the rest of the world.
It is not.
Everyone else are operating in communities. How can we
Well, and they
all
have
as a
a,
community succeed? It's called mutual aid.
right. And their family values are far, far superior to ours. I mean, the family is absolutely everything. But I did want to say one thing that, Trump said something a long time ago, and and I said this to my wife, right? I said, "Hey, Trump said this one time about like, they're not sending their best, right? They're sending their murderers, their whatever." And my wife goes about the people that are crossing legal. She said, "If they're Mexican, that's probably true." And the reason is because to get a visa from the U.S. and Mexico, you have to have a clean criminal history. You can't even have. I mean, like I'm talking speeding tickets could disqualify you from coming to the United States. And so a lot of people, if they have any kind of criminal history, they're left with little options. I mean, they either try to make it across or they stay there and I guess suffer or whatever. But there is a little truth to that. But most of the people you see at the border towns, they're not Mexican people. They're just not. And unfortunately, they get painted as the bad guys. But we could learn so much from Mexico, to be honest with you. So
Can I offer a little bit of a subject change? But
sure.
first of all, my our Discord, who comments horrendous things all the time, they're actually being very nice to you. But they just said you do sound like a Democrat. I wanted something you touched
It's
on
a
earlier.
leftist.
Yeah, something that you touched on earlier that I wanted to bring up. Like you said that you don't want to vote for Trump, you don't want to vote for Joe Biden. Felice is always wrong about this. I would make the argument to you, Lightspeed, that Joe Biden is one of the most clean politicians that we've ever had. The fact that he's been in office for 365 trillion years and his net worth is roughly like 10 to 15 million, and 8 of that came from him writing 8 to 10, I guess, came from him writing a book after he was vice president. We've had investigation after investigation after investigation into him by the Republicans, and still have yet to find anything criminal that he's ever done. The worst thing you can say about Joe Biden is he was a little bit slower than some to adopt to progress, to social change. But when we're comparing a person like Donald Trump and Joe Biden is, before Trump, almost universally loved. The reason he was Obama's VP candidate is because Obama knew he needed Biden to be able to reach across the aisle, to get to Mitch McConnell, to get to Lindsey Graham, to work with Senate Republicans and the Senate and the Congress. They knew that about him because his character was never in question. People have loved Joe Biden since he's been there. He's never been a problem. I would just offer that wherever you fall on Joe Biden's politics, and I'm left of Joe Biden on a lot of things. Felice nailed it when she said he's basically a Republican. But Joe Biden, the person, is significantly better than Donald Trump. And he's one of the best people in government as far as like his cleanliness when it comes to his record.
You
He's
know
a
what keeps me
very
from
clean
voting for
candidate.
him?
What's that?
And it's probably the same thing that keeps you from voting for a Republican candidate, even if you liked him, right? It's not him or his policies. Look, I think Joe Biden's a panderer. I think he has proven over his career in politics that he basically grabs onto whatever issue it is, whether it's black on black crime and inner city stuff or drugs or whatever the case may be. He just jumps and takes an issue as his own to use to leverage for votes. And
But that's what the
but that's
president
all
is supposed to
politicians.
do.
I
The
understand.
president is supposed to represent all of us. So when
My-
as a moderate, that's actually a good thing for a president.
I'm trying my hardest not to get called a potato here, but anyways, but the reason is not him per se. It's it's like the extreme side of it and I don't extreme with the right side either, but the extreme left side is like, I think it's just too far for me because I've ran multi-billion-dollar businesses. I know what it, there's there's things
So
that you have to do that's right for the company, but maybe not right for everybody. You know what I
okay, so
mean? And
let's
I
take
think
that logic and apply it evenly. Then, would you rather be in a socialist country or a fascist country?
uh,
Keep in mind, there's tons of socialist countries right now that are doing very well, much better than
I
us.
would say socialist for sure,
Okay, well, the far
probably.
right, but the far right is fascist. Donald Trump is actually running on fascism. So if you're going to apply that evenly, you've got to ask yourself, would I rather, like, if it's about fear of who has control, and I'd offer two things. Number one, I agree with you. I'd rather be socialist than fascist. But number two, the socialists don't have a very big voice with Democrats. The fascists are fucking running shit with the Republicans. Donald
Yeah.
Trump is a fascist. Mike Johnson is a fascist. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a fascist. Most of the biggest voices in media are fascists. The most powerful voices in the Democrat Party are still moderates. That's how Joe Biden won, by being like as moderate. He entered the race late, and he came in. And he's like, "Hey guys, I'm not going to take a strong position on shit." And the Democrats are like, "Hell yeah, that's our guy."
Yeah.
Go ahead, Felice.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, just to go off of RTP's point, right? The moderate Democrats looked around and they had a choice, right? After Trump, they said they could have looked to the left and said, let's ally with the Democratic Socialists, the progressives, and let's move the country left. But they didn't, right? They looked around, they saw the never Trumpers, the moderate Republicans, the neoconservatives, like Nicole Wallace on NBC, who was I love Nicole Wallace, but let's never forget she worked for George Bush and is a warmonger. She supports war in all of its forms. So I'm saying what I'm trying to tell you is don't worry about the far left. The moderate Democrats have chosen a side. They've chosen the neocons. They are all aligned in the middle. Now, and I can espouse leftist values all I want, but what I want to also say is that I recognize where change comes and how this country moves forward, which is in the middle, right?
Yeah.
We're
But do you
Go
think
ahead.
we'll ever see, like, let's just say that, let's say that all the things that are big issues for me, right? So they say we need universal, healthcare or whatever. I mean, that is never going to happen in the United States. And the reason is because the insurance companies are too powerful. There's just no way that's ever going to happen here.
Bro,
So they can say it and promise
you're a
it.
Republican advocating for universal health care. I think we're a lot closer than you think we are.
I think we are too.
Yeah, like the majority of Americans for the first time in our history, and I don't remember when the transition took over, but like we actually want universal health care now, and
Yeah.
we can run the lobby out, but again, we've got to start voting that way. There's nothing, I can't imagine anything more impactful or more important that we could do as a country right now than universal health care.
I agree with that.
It would, so until the Republicans are on board with universal health care, nobody should vote for them.
But let's go back to like Obamacare, right? So I worked for a company, that we provided health, whatever, and my perception of Obamacare is that it basically it made the insurance companies more wealthy, is all it did. It had very little good impact. And
Well,
I'll give you an example. I'll
lowered
give
the
you
rate. So rates were raising on average by 6% a year. Once we introduced the ACA, rates started raising by 3% a year. So we cut the rise in half. We also lifted millions of people out of poverty by giving them health care. We were able to provide health care for people who hadn't had health care in decades. So economically, sure, the private insurance companies made off with a bunch of money. But again, like even if that's true, that's what they're doing now anyway. So even if nothing changed, even if we paid the same amount and a bunch of people got health care that couldn't afford it before, it's still a win to me. But Obamacare versus like Medicare for all, totally different. The reason
hmm
Obamacare was still expensive, the reason all our costs still went up, is because we're talking about for-profit mechanisms. I don't believe that people should be making profit off of paying your healthcare bills, not providing you healthcare, but paying
Agreed.
your healthcare bills. That's
And
crazy.
Yeah.
recognize that Obamacare is actually RTP's favorite man on earth. Who is he? Who do you love more than anyone? It's Romney Care. Obamacare
Shut
is
up.
actually
You're so
Mitt
stupid.
Romney Care. It was a Republican's idea that was being implemented where? In Massachusetts, right?
Well, it was a Democrat idea. He signed the bill. He didn't introduce it, but he signed the bill.
I'm just saying,
Well,
like, these are things, it's not about, we all just have to acknowledge in this country what we'll accept. We need to be able to go to the doctor just like they do in the UK,
Hmm.
independent of our jobs. Our
But
children and us should be able to have health care independent of our corporate or overlords.
so our corporate insurance, right, that we provided for our team members, went up 30 under Obama, right? Went up 30% on
Team
average
members
every year.
still, you're
Yeah,
still a little
I
indoctrinated.
know,
I
I
hear
know.
you still. That
That's
corporate
true.
America, and take
You're
the
not
man out of
you're
corporate
not
America. I
workers.
can't take
We're
corporate
family,
America out of the
folks.
man.
Yeah. Hey, I still tell people all the time that why do I call you on your birthday? Because we're family. That's right. Yeah, because that's what they used to tell us to tell them. We call you on your birthday. Say, hey Jay, happy birthday. Now why do I call you? I call you because we're family,
At
buddy.
my
You
company,
know?
whenever we had to have a serious conversation, instead of saying we were going to have a confrontation, they would be like, "We're going to have a carefrontation."
Yeah. You know what's funny is on
Seriously, yeah.
my first birthday after losing my job, right? 25 years I worked for this company. And I on my birthday I was it was the first thing I thought of in the morning is like the owner's gonna, the owner has called me for 25 years on my birthday, right? Like he's taken the time. And so I called him on my birthday and I said, what, you're not calling me? What, I'm not family no more? What's going on? But hey, on the Obamacare thing, so we saw our insurance rates go up by 30%, annually for 3 years in a row, basically. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's like, I don't know the reasoning behind it, but like our corporate healthcare costs went up drastically. Now, the company I worked for absorbed most of that. I think they absorbed 2 of the 3 years of it. But there was increases. There was a cost to that, and so um, I would have been a bigger advocate of like just doing it like Canada does it or whoever does,
Yeah, the
just
idea of
just
Medicare for all is that the
have
government becomes the insurance companies,
right.
right?
But the government's never going to take it over like say the UK, because then all these insurance companies are going to
The
be,
National Institute of
jumping off
Health
of
or whatever,
buildings,
or Health Service, Health
Terrific. I
Institute.
think that's terrific. They can the company, not the people, but that's
I think
fine
it's
by me.
terrific too, but they're powerful, right? They have tons of money, right? They have
They're
I've
not.
seen.
No, we got to stop doing this. They're not more powerful than the electorate. They're just not.
True. I
We
mean, that's
can
true, I
vote this
guess.
shit in. We have to hold. It's time for us to be like, we got to hold the politicians' feet to the fire. This
Or we got to
defeatist.
stop working,
Yeah.
right? We're
Or
the
yeah,
labor
something.
force. We got to stop going to work.
You know what's funny is 25 years getting up at 4:30, working 14-hour days, 7 days a week, right? The I still wake up every morning at 4:30 in the morning because I'm like trained to do that, but
You feel
it's
unproductive, right? Do you understand
yeah,
you've been conditioned by capitalism?
I
Like
have.
time,
And
time is only necessary because of capitalism, right?
but
And
I have not worked in 2 years. The 11th will be 2 years. I've been basically living off my savings. I started my own business that makes me happy, and it's like if I would have told myself back then that like I would have done it a lot sooner, to be honest with you, because I just couldn't fathom a way forward where I didn't need a job, right? Like it's like a mental, it's like it conditions you to that, right? Like you have to have a job or you're a loser, you know what I mean? So I don't know. But
I love how you're thinking critically and you're going, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I think what I'm doing is right? Like that's the question of all of capitalism. Think about mental health in this country and the direction it's going. When you go to mental health, you're given what they call cognitive behavior therapy usually, which is not,
yeah,
hey, everything around me is broken, right? Why shouldn't
yeah,
we be endeavoring to change the system, to change capitalism? But when the way mental health is set up is to say, you need to change the way you think. Your brain is screaming at you that something is wrong, right?
yeah, yeah.
But you need to adjust your brain to fit in a capitalistic system. And that's the irony of what's going on is that people need to recognize that why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking the way I think? And
It is
is there
true.
another way to think?
It is true. Like there's things like that, like the healthcare tied to your job. Like when you have it, you don't think about it, right? And then when you don't have it, you think, holy shit, like what, how is that fair, right? It just doesn't feel very fair. But anyways, I gotta go. But RTP, I'm in Goodyear, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna tell you the only good thing about
Tragic.
Mesa. There's one good thing about Mesa, and that's backyard taco. It's the only reason I would ever go to Mesa is for backyard taco.
Now you're talking.
Oh, that's
We
true.
ended.
I don't know what's worse, Goodyear or Mesa. Now that's a debate for
How dare
another
you?
time.
How
Have you
dare
been
you?
to backyard taco? It's the best
I love
place in
backyard
Arizona.
taco. Yeah, I
Dude,
love it.
we should go there.
Let's
But
do it.
anyways, it was nice
My
chatting with you
uncle
guys.
owns a very famous Mexican restaurant here, but I'm
Oh,
Brag.
not going to go
really?
into that. Yeah.
Oh, well, DM me. I mean, we should meet up.
They
I
make
mean,
their own tortillas.
Yeah, I got my
Yeah,
wife
as soon
does
as you
that too,
change
but
that voter registration,
We can
let
all
us
meet
know
there.
and we'll meet up. Just get that voter
Yeah.
registration changed.
We have some
all right.
3D printing we need done.
Yeah, if
That's
you guys
right.
need any design work, hit me up, man. Please.
There we go. I gave you a follow too. Let's do it again
Uh,
sometime.
all right, brother. Nice talking to you guys. Thanks for not
Brother.
calling me
By
potato.
the
See you on the
yeah.
next one.
By the way, the Discord is thrilled. You gave Dollar Tree RTP, and they're making graphics.
His name is
So
Dollar General, I've decided.
Dude, he's gonna freak out because when he said that, when he said, he goes, dude, why are you calling me that? I follow you, and I looked, and I was like, dude, he's followed me for a long time. I had no idea,
yeah.
but
Well, there you
anyways,
go. Suck it,
all right,
Whisper. Thanks,
all
brother.
right,
We'll see
all
you.
right, guys, bye.
Bye. Thor came back for some reason. He's not coming up.
He
Sorry, Thor.
wants us to know he's in a right to work. We're in a right to work state, and we need to be
That's
quiet. That's what he was saying.
that's Thor's.
Yes.
Terrific. Good job, Thor.
The fact we're all floating
Flycaster,
around Arizona is scary.
welcome.
How are you going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
What's up?
To be hey, Felice. I so wanted to comment on the last with the guy who was just chatting. Because when you were talking about Biden pandering, I mean, he uses the word pander. I mean, he's working across the aisles. And the other thing is, it amazes me. Like, Trump panders to every crowd, every base, depending on where he goes. He reads the room. So that was one thing. The other thing was on healthcare. You guys should be able to afford it at a much lower rate. I'm in Canada. You have a much larger scale. We have the same insurance companies, similar banks, the same pharmaceutical companies. Our medications are lower, and this is not something I'm just guessing at. My best friend from high school became a pharmacist in Connecticut, and we talk regularly, and I cannot believe the prices you are paying.
Yeah, believe it, baby. America first. Okay.
And didn't you guys in
Because
Canada just get dental included in your socialized medical care?
yeah, it's a limited thing, but it's
I didn't know Canadians had dentists. Both of you guys got muted for some reason. That was weird.
my
That's the first time I'm finding out you guys had dentists.
Canadians
That's
had
awesome.
dentists. Both of you guys got muted for some reason.
Oh, you're gonna have to drop and come back up. You got a crazy echo. Let me bring up some opposition. I'll bring it. Oh no, it's just Thor. All right, come back up. Sorry, Thor. You're gonna have to sit there and time out for a little bit longer. But we do understand, Thor. This is a right to work state, and we're thrilled about we're thrilled about learning that.
So we've all been victimized. But Thor works for a socialized healthcare system. So let's just go into that.
Yeah, Thor
so
has
Thor is both
socialized
benefiting from socialism and
Flycast, welcome back. Real quick, I only have about 25 minutes. I kind of want to rapid fire, so I appreciate you coming up, but let's be semi quick, if that's all right with you.
okay. So
Thanks, brother.
all right, and I understand because you want to get somebody up in there, and Thor's going to be fun for you guys.
Thor's not coming back up. Don't worry. We already did Thor once today.
Okay. So it's like a limited exposure thing to Thor. Okay.
Yeah. if you have him too many times, you get some communicable diseases.
I've been in
so
live
be
with
careful.
Thor, but I don't think he remembers me. But yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, Banting and Best gave insulin to the world. We invented it in Canada, and they did not charge for the patent. So there's no reason you guys shouldn't be paying like $35 for insulin. And it just amazes me that you should be able to implement the system a lot better than it is. You're already paying for it in the privatization. All right, you're already paying for that healthcare. That's what people don't understand. Now, Felice pointed out the ability to actually move from. My son is now in Alberta. His card will work there. Okay, I'm in Ontario. You can move anywhere in Canada and you're still covered. You don't have to worry about if you lose your job for 6 months. And the thing that amazes me is they're always saying you cannot afford it. But you can, because their industry will build around it. Okay, you'll be hiring people in that industry also who are going to be spending money back in your taxes. And finally, when you implement these things, and it's cost effective, people will have less sick days. You're going to have less on the back end, like people having strokes and serious issues because they'll be going regularly getting
Preventative healthcare. Yeah, that's
preventative.
the problem
Yes,
with America is we respond to crises rather than preventing them, right? Yeah. It's
100%.
it's a strategy of how to provide healthcare for a community, and yeah, America, we're doing it wrong. We wait till we end up in the emergency room versus if we had regular checkups, right? We'd be wasting a lot less money.
Yeah, and to give you just a simple example, a cough, depending on the type, can become bronchitis, can become pneumonia, right? But if you're checked and you get it done, you're going to return faster to work. Like there's a lot of lost hours due to sickness, and like you said, if you have a major crisis, you could wipe out all your savings. It can decimate a family. And that's one less worry for the American worker if they had universal health care.
Yeah, like 60% of our company, like 60% of our country is basically one devastating health health scare away from being bankrupt. That's the
Yep.
crazy. Even those that are insured that have, you have a $15,000 deductible, you're already in debt, you're living paycheck to paycheck. You don't have a credit card you can even put that on.
Yep.
You're now in debt to the hospital. Maybe they won't take you. You can't get care. It's honestly so embarrassing that as a country, not only do we not provide that care, that's embarrassing, but perhaps more embarrassing is that we have millions and millions of people who have been tricked into thinking that we can't afford it, that we can't do anything about it, that socialized healthcare is worse, despite like every data point in the world shows that we can do it more effectively, and we'll have better outcomes. And they've just all been sold this idea that socialism bad, so we can't do it. That's the embarrassing part. We should be embarrassed as a country that we have that many people that are that gullible.
And even your veterans would benefit from it. And the amount of money that you're spending on, let's say, your military, it's always justified. It's not a question of whether you need it or not.
And let me say this, kudos to everybody who served in the military. I appreciate
Oh,
everybody who served
100%.
in the military. But you don't deserve health
Amen.
care, and nobody else does. I appreciate your service. You were paid. You got benefits during that. But the idea that just because you serve, you get free health care, that you get government-run health care, and for some people, even after they serve, they get it the rest of their life, that's fucking stupid. It is so fucking stupid that we only give health care to just a few people. You work for the government, or you serve in the military, or you have a disability. We can give health care to everybody. We can afford it. We have to stop tying like this right, first of all, from the right, this right to life, this right to care, this right to survive, this right to live, and it is tied to an employer who can get rid of you at any time and just end your insurance.
Uh,
It's absolute nonsense.
that's an excellent point. I mean, how are they able to apply to government officials all these things, a large body of people, and say, oh, well, the system will never work for everybody. You're already doing it on scales. You're already doing it in certain states. And we have actually busloads of people who come up to Canada to get their medication here and then go back down because it's cheaper. It's not even cheaper by a little. Simple thing like an EpiPen hasn't been improved over the years. You guys are paying 750 on average between 650 and 750 US dollars for it. In Canada, we pay between 120 and 150 Canadian, which is much less in US dollars. So how is that possible? And it's the same companies producing them. It's
That's why we need to move insurance to
Yep.
the insurance company should be the government, and we need to negotiate prices as a group, as a country, with big pharma. We need to use our power of leverage with our entire population. I agree with you.
And
It makes no sense.
the thing about it is, yes, we pay a little bit higher taxes, but if you start itemizing that and taking a look at the actual cost that comes out in taxes for Canadians versus what you're paying for private healthcare, and then you have access for all. and it
It evens out. We'd be saving. That's yes. We are nickel and dimed in America to the point of if you really do the math, yeah, of course you're saving money everywhere else.
okay. And the other thing is with an insurance company. I mean, people talk one of all my insurance. Yeah, unless you have a pre-existing condition, and we don't have that here. And if it's things that you can't afford for, then you can write to the pharmaceutical companies, and there's things you can get aid from, right? To apply for special things for discounts on the medication. So it's a human right, right? It's a humanity now. It's if a family has, if you think about it, if you have a child and your child is sick and you can't afford to pay for that child to do that, that is one weight left off your shoulder. Okay? So I really don't understand why you guys don't have it. You should be able to do it better than anybody else.
It is just. I agree with you. It's just facts. We need the government is supposed to be providing for the Commonwealth, and the fact that nobody should be worried about taking their child to the doctor and being bankrupted after that and not being able to provide for their child going forward. Like we want to increase the birth rate in this country. That's why essentially we did away with Roe v. Wade, but then we don't want to take care of people. We can't just have babies born that have no way to survive.
Yes, the infant mortality rate is great, and I will say, if I'm talking from experience, like RTP and Felice, I'm talking from experience. I've worked in. My dad is a physician. He moved to Canada in 1972, and I've worked in his office for decades at different times. So I'm talking about the help. I do not speak for all Canadians because there'll always be somebody coming up saying, "Well, I had a wait time for this and I had a wait time for that." You know, there's always a two-tier system, and I will tell you this: the super rich don't wait. Okay, if they need back surgery or stuff, they fly. There are people that fly down to Mexico and get it done there.
Yeah, we had Whisper the other day had somebody on that was talking about they were on the other side of the border of North Dakota, and their daughter worked at a hospital there on the other side of the border in North Dakota, and she was talking about how her hospital was like it was full of people from Canada. I can't remember exactly what kind of surgery they were waiting for, and that was his proof that Canadian healthcare wasn't working. And Whisper did a great job going through that and digging in. Turns out that their hospitals were overrun during COVID, but they were paid. They got their they were able to go to North Dakota, and the Canadian government paid for them to go to North Dakota and get the care that they wanted. And that's the beauty of the government running your healthcare or paying your bills, is that they can, like, they're not going to let their people be hurt because that's their voters. They're obligated to those people to take care of them. By the way, I just want to clear up. I understand there was maybe some confusion. Maybe I chose my words incorrectly. I have no problem with veterans having health care. I have no problem with veterans getting health care from the United States government. What I have a problem with is this idea that just because you're a veteran, you get health care, but the American people don't. I'm not advocating that veterans lose their health care. I'm advocating that everybody get health care, and that you should not have to choose to be a member of the military in order to get health care. So I want to be clear on that. I don't have a problem with military people getting health care. I don't have a problem with the VA. The VA is better than our system. The outcomes from the VA are better than the outcomes from private health care. Just want to be very clear on that.
Yeah, I completely support the veterans. I hate that the military budget is going to defense contractors. Like, it should. This is an issue. Veterans' healthcare needs to be funded completely and totally, and specifically mental health. So yeah, I also support veterans, 100%.
Awesome. That's gonna wrap it. I don't have anybody else in the box. So I think that's gonna wrap it up because I got the hard cut off at one. Felice, thank you.
A pleasure, as always. It's election day, guys. Follow the elections. We will have, big outcomes today, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll be back to talk about that tomorrow. Make sure you get out there and vote, unless you're voting for Republicans, in which case just take the day off. You don't need to. You don't need to be out there voting. Take a nap. Call it a day. You probably can't find the polling place, anyways. Just a reminder: my starting time changed for many of you, as Arizona does not have daylight savings time. So where I used to get confused on at 9:30 on Pacific Standard Time, it's now 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. So just be aware of that. Thank you for all the gifts. Thank you for the subscriptions. Did we get? Oh, we didn't get there. Reminder: this hoodie, this Mac Miller hoodie, this was sent to me by a small mom and pop shop. It is individually owned. They sent this to me, and then they sent me a link with a discounted price. If you like Mac Miller, you like this, or the coffee link that I put up there. That mushroom coffee was really good. You can support those businesses by doing
and join
that.
the Discord.
And join the Discord. Thank you. If you need an invite to the Discord, shoot me a direct message, or you can send one to Jen or Infectious Bites or Korean
Enjoy
Leftist.
my Discord.
Enjoy, yeah. And I've lost the Discord. I don't even know why I call it mine anymore. But I'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early, unless who's here? No, I don't know who that is. I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time. I don't know about Felice. She just shows up when she wants to because she's just running shit now. Okay.
We'll see.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the morning.
Bye.
Bye.